last time out, when it came to the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld, 3 different story paths emerged. A chance to clinch a title in Monza for one. A chance to be able to break away and gain some separation for the second half of the season in another. And a chance to see who can finally get that edge in the final 3. In other words, the Temple of Speed is expected to have a lot to pressurize itself with today. Welcome everyone to RaceSpotTV's coverage. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me in the booth today is Renzo Bonder with Hugo Weaves in the producer's seat as we get ready to see who can separate themselves here at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. It's the 6th race of the season and our first since the most recent build. Take the month of March off for said build. In turn though, Renzo, 2 races in the month of April, 2 races that in turn can have some significant implications for how the Division 2 and 3 championships in particular play out to end the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that Division 3 we're seeing very soon. It's tied on points. Division 2 is really close. There's nothing to assure, even though German Sim Racing kind of dominated the last 2 races after bouncing back from Daytona. So it's still undecided, but I think also this race could also be important to clinch the expected Delta Sport Championship on Division 1-2.
Indeed, let's start heading towards that direction, why don't we, when it comes to those discussion points to consider here. When it comes to today, the respective sides and respective colors that we'll see around this racetrack and battle around said circuit here today. Renzo, keep in mind, you mentioned a little bit when it comes to Sean Campbell. I will say he's been outright dominant. 5 rounds complete, 4 victories in turn for the Delta Sport driver. That's why they lead the team standings after all the purple and white. And in turn, they've been able to pull away from the rest of the competition in their respective team colors. Keep in mind, if they finished 1 position higher, up in 2nd at the Nürburgring to start the year, Sean Campbell would have already clinched the title.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because we were talking this prior to the broadcast that Sean, I think, like you said, been so dominant that he's 149 points. If this was 151, like you said, just 1 more spot, 2 points, that would have been enough for him to be basically on the what would be the best acronym? Be on the passenger seat for the remaining of the championship, do whatever he wanted. Maybe we'll have some fun in it, and still would be champion regardless of the outcome. Division
1 indeed has been one of those where it's been domination filled from Sean Campbell. It's been a little bit tighter though in Division 2 with the German Sim Racing entry there, the 246 doing well, but back-to-back victories have been able to propel them to the advantage they have now around 77 points. Freestyle and Nomad. Keep an eye though on Deutsche Payment because they won at Imola, the other race based in Italy, this campaign already. Show good speed at Suzuka. They're also within the hunt. Also throw in Echelon Simsport and IVRA Liveries Vibe Sports in the hunt as well, mathematically with a good shot. Oh, and by the way, Eclipse Racing Esports and the Ford of Orbit still in range as well. Meanwhile, compare that to Division 3, that's been the busy side because consistency has gone back and forth. As a matter of fact, Stan and Nomad, they ended up having a rough round at Suzuka point-wise, 0 points in fact. That has now got them in a tie for the Division 3 standings with Rusty Spatulas. Also throw into the mix Precision Racing Esports, Echelon Simsport, and World of Sim Racing team, and this battle could go any direction, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we could even make a case of Precision because they had the DNF at Imola. I think that was enough for them to, have some sense of urgency. Got the win at Suzuka for their division. Because of Rusty Spatulas being consistent, somewhat survived at the end of things. That's why the point gap between them is only up to 17 points whenever you go to Ashland Simsport the 4th. 7 points to Precision and basically tied. It's insane. I really like this Division 3 battle as we go towards the Temple of Speed.
With that, the drivers getting themselves all situated and ready to go as we start off qualifying. 20 minutes total on the clock. Most drivers have already started up their warm-up times, able to get themselves situated for their first flying laps here today. Now, keep in mind when it comes to this respective series, the Sprint Series is powered by Heusinkveld. providing prizes for the winners of the top divisions. In terms of point standings throughout the campaign, Heusinkveld 3 pedals, sets and pedals, the Ultimate Plus, including the base point for Division 1's champions. The Heusinkveld's 3 pedal, sets and pedal sprint, including the base point for the winners of Division 2 and Division 3's championships. As these drivers get themselves flying around the racetrack, first time starting to populate up on the board, Deutsche Payment starts things off in the 146.9s. And the intriguing thing about the practice session for this round, for much of the round's practice preparation before the start of qualifying, Division 2 teams dominated the top of the pylon. Most of them stayed up there until the end of the session, with some of the Division 1 teams putting up times. Draft could be critical, and is expected to be critical for this session today.
Oh yeah, 100%. We know, because this is the Temple of Speed, we know not just from the GT side, but also we know from open wheelers as well that there is some shenanigans. I think we see one car off, as Deutsche Payment probably involved into it, is the 256% of Nomad. So don't mind the rejoin.
That's not good for them, as that's Jason Dilworth backing up into the wall. That's one of your championship contending cars trying to figure out how to get going. And remember, in IVRA competition, you can't simply just tow the car to be able to go back to the pit lane. You have to be able to make it back to the pit lane.
There you go.
Not too much damage, surprisingly, though, it seems, despite the spin there. And that kind of brings us into the discussions today about the track in of itself. Since it is a very fast track at a Parabolica, yes, but there's also a lot of attrition points expected, especially for the start today. Matter of fact, the major discussion point, the fuel conservation and the ways you can do it, and how they can be impacted in turn by how many of their opponents go end up flying into the first corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there is an important change, I think, in comparison to the last time we've been in Monza. And the last time we've been in Monza, from the last time I've covered, was actually in the Endurance Series when we done the 1,500 kilometers of Monza. The big difference is they taken away the what we call the clutch and coast, right? Where you activate the clutch, basically lift and coast around the corner, and that would save you lots of fuel in comparison to a normal lift and coast you would see in 99% of the cars. Because of that, you don't have that efficiency in terms of saving fuel like you probably would have that. Maybe 0.2, 0.3 liters per lap. So you're not going to get 1 or 2 laps extra like you probably would want to, regarding the circumstances. Sean is going to come into the lane. He's going to test a little bit of the car. But with that being said, it's going to be interesting whenever this race starts to see how conservative the drivers will be pushing their cars within that first hour of the race just to meet the 1 hour mark, because on paper they're not going to meet that 1 hour mark if they go full flat on that throttle.
Take a look at Santosi on esports yesterday in club sport competition, showing some good speed amongst the top 5 much of the day. Respective race in the state of Alabama. And right now, in regards to the GT Sprint Series side, powered by Heusinkveld, the Belt Esports has looked very solid. Keep in mind, consistent in a lot of the speed tracks. Keep in mind, though, they did see a slip back because of some of the tighter circuits on the schedule with Belle Isle with the 0-point round a few months ago, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. A good team, of course. Had the top spot. I think was second place in the last race of Suzuka. This is their best place in the championship so far. You got a DNF at Belle Isle, but then again, Belle Isle is kind of like a Russian roulette because you're driving on the street circuit. But other than that, just trying to do their best, because as far as I'm concerned, you want to avoid the pre-quali, like I said in the club sport broadcasters today. You want to avoid that shenanigans of going again, do a pre-quali and pray to see Racing Jesus that you actually pass through the pre-quali, and then you get a really good result whenever the new season starts.
Take a look at the Team Heusinkveld machine. They also showed consistency yesterday in club sport competition. Fortunately for 2 drivers, though, they've already picked up some penalties because of that tow situation we just mentioned. The 2 teams who have already towed their cars, RD Simsports, Alistair Kirk, serve a drive-through penalty for doing so. 310 for Make Performance Junior White also will have to serve a drive-through penalty because they rejoined the qualifying session after towing the respective cars. Amongst the teams that have been very much in sync throughout the season, second in Division 2 qualifying. Keep in mind, Deutsche Payment still up at the top of the board. For reference, German Sim Racing Red currently working with the respective cars around. They worked a lot in practice with the respective German Sim Racing competitors to be expected. This session, they're working with the Ford because it's the Ford. It's a speed track.
It's a good car. Don't at me.
I mean, the last time it went to a high-speed track, Ethan Bass was able to drive this car very consistently amongst the top 10, if not top 15.
Oh, because it is Ethan. Ethan loved that car. Like, I think it is his baby. He thinks of his baby. So, I think Ethan is one of the few drivers I know that know how to do a setup for the Ford. People say doing a setup for the Ford is atrocious. Don't ever touch it. Keep it away. At least put up a restraint order to me or something like that to keep it as far away from me as possible. But if you can extract a really good setup on the Ford, despite being having rudimentary tools like ABS for ABS and traction controls, you can pull decent times in it. Back, I think last season or season 2 seasons ago in the fixed series, the official series, this was actually one of the best cars.
The series we've seen on RaceSpot as of late, as well as a couple other broadcast networks in our realm, have shown great speed in the Ford, 7th in the points, mind you, as Adam Volkowitz elects to go on to the pit lane. He has that car already disappearing there. A major trend also appearing in this session, it's worth noting, those tires you're looking at. Most drivers today, they're only putting up 1 lap, if that, on the Flyers. Some are taking 2, then they're coming down to the pits to change the tires. So that's why you're seeing so much frequency in terms of tire changes.
Yeah, not only that, I think one of the other things we probably can be seeing is not taking too much of a lap on the outlap, right? Just you're not pushing too much that car. We see that on the Porsche Sport Super Cup. We see in other series as well. To try to, maximize the contact you're making on the ground, therefore building up the tire heat and pressure as well, but without overburning the tire wear too much, and then you leave that burn to the tire wear to the fast lap. So that's why they're trying to do some sort of balancing of out lap to in to fast lap and then in lap whenever they can actually do it.
Currently, the Ford back in the 16th spot overall in the pylon. Currently amongst the top 10 in Division 2 class drivers. Take a look back at About Esports, making their way out of Parabolica. It's on round. This is a part of the racetrack, mind you. Can be a little bit tricky with the edge of the racetrack for the off tracks. See them just getting a whiff of draft. We'll see how they are on the timesheets. Yes, it's a 146.8 to the top of the board for Santosi. Some great times being put up, and now it's going to get intriguing too on how the choo-choo train plays out. Amongst those, ask for a clean start, as anyone would do, was Emil Wimbo. He is 7th, one of the best qualifying runs for this team this entire year.
Yeah, so far getting solid results as Wimbo coming into the pit box, some other drivers as well. One thing I know there are some teams that usually have more than one car around the championship, but you're not seeing too many collaborations. Of course, we're seeing Team Heusinkveld collaborating one another, but other than that, I think teams that probably have more than one car, we're not seeing massive collaborations of one giving the draft to one another like we normally see in every single series that we try to cover on a race spot.
As you see Santosi indeed roll in. Amongst those looking to bounce back from some pain yesterday, 264 when it came to major series in the representation of M-Tech, were competitors in the prototype championship in the pro class. Both their cars, Renzo, yesterday crashed. They lost the championship as a result of them crashing at a race at Sebring. Adam State, one of the drivers, looking to bounce back from that yesterday.
Unfortunate to see that they had some minor struggles, and here again, wow, nice save from Adam State.
Wow.
Nearly made a statement, pun intended, into the wall. Fortunately for him, he kept that thing on the track, even though the scare moment has passed away and is definitely slowing down a little bit.
Nick McLaughlin is just at the toe. Race Control has approved that, however. Getting into the case of state, the reason it was significant, Renzo, is both the satellite racing cars went 2 laps down because they crashed into each other.
Oh, so you're saying that was friendly fire? Oh, no.
Heading into Le Mans at that racetrack, for reference. The curbing on the left, that, as you may remember.
Yeah. I wonder why, how Cy, Andra, Adam Crane, and all the rest of the boys might be taking that one.
Meanwhile, most of the drivers are taking the pit lane. Wokert's thought about it, but nearly ran into some cars doing so. Instead, puts up a 147 flat, moved themselves up past Maniti Racing. They are still second Division 2. Sean Campbell, meanwhile, still amongst the top 5 of the track. Not a surprise, and he is the Pied Piper for a train of just about every other division behind him. You have Reed Mower, you have Kirk, you have the TR Geeks Energy Sim Racing car with Hartford in that train as well, all trying to work together, all while they're trying to get around Jason Dilworth, who's slowing down with 5 minutes to go to warm up his tires.
Yeah, it's getting crazy out here, and fortunately for us, we're not seeing those F1 shenanigans we normally see at Monza, right? Everybody's slowing down now, and then we go into a situation who gives the draft to who, right? Which is really good to see. Just people minding to do their own laps and just going flat out the best way they can. One thing I've noticed right here, we have about the 41 cars on the track. Gap to the 1 second gap extends to P29. Of course, I'm just putting some few tenths of a second extra, but still 29 cars within this one same second. It's impressive.
Yeah, well, this time a 146.947, a personal best. However, still a 10th off the pole. Enough time for another couple laps. Maybe one if they elect to come down and change the tires here. They are on the 2-tire stint. Reed Mower, meanwhile, went around, and yes, it looks like Campbell might be going back into the pits once he can, or at least cooling down the tires. Reed Mower going for the flyer, as he's on the second lap still.
Yeah, but I don't think that Sean is gonna have time to, do the do this in lap and be able to do an out lap and a fast lap in time. I think that takes about 5 minutes for you to get into the pit lane. He crossed the line with 4, so it's basically that thing done and dusted for the American. As we see Reed Mueller on that Mercedes AMG 5th place overall, and I'm kind of surprised to see there isn't a over domination of Porsches in this track, but still some of the cars being able to contest, like the BMW Valorous Motorsport in 7th place, and both and Max Reed Mueller, as we've seen on screen.
I will say this, early on in the season, when they started off strong at the Nürburgring, amongst the battling there, you could throw them right into the championship hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Then Imola happened, where they didn't get a single point, and that was a disastrous race for them. A lot of bumping and making towards the end in their respective race. They haven't scored more than 60 points since then. It's been a tough stretch.
It's been rough. It's been really rough.
So how do you turn that around as a team to close out a year like this, with 3 rounds to go, all within the span of about a month and a half?
It's rough, it's especially when you have like races back to back of sorts, and it is races that kind of have some similarities if you think about it, right? Monza is very fast. Road America is extremely fast. Up until you get into the halfway portion of the 3rd sector, maybe. But regardless, it's rough when you think about that you have to avoid pre-quali shenanigans. Your championship hopes have basically gone off into the wind, so it's rough.
It is rough. You know what is rough? Going through the rough confines of the sand. I am not sure what Deutsche Payment may be doing. They are second overall still, mind you. First in Division 1, in Division 2 qualifying. They just cut through the entire sand trap there. Can't tell if by purpose or not. They are going to go for a flyer. The 242, meanwhile, taking a look, that's Olympus. They are going to go flying to the wall, and that is why they had to just go back to the pit lane for repairs with Love 46.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that if Lyubov is actually doing this in stream right now, I wonder how the chat on her stream probably is going like, because we were looking at Deutsche Payment. I was literally seeing that Olympus car coming back into the track at the exit of Ascari. It was like, okay, there's a car that went heavily into the wall into Ascari. I was wondering if that was Olympus, but indeed it was. And unfortunate to see that free. I think their qualifying is done and dusted.
About a 1 minute gap left to go on the clock, and then there's the runoff time for those looking to complete their set qualifying laps. It was Schaefer, after keeping the tires cool for about half a lap, then putting the tires into a sand grader, electing to go and plow on forward here. Curious what this time actually turns up to be, with them, well, accidentally cutting the entire Ascari chicane on the warm-up lap, so to speak.
Yeah. By the way, interesting aspect. Delta Sport went into P2, but only 50 hundredths of a second slower than Sabel. So that wasn't actually a pit stop for Sean. That was actually a slow lap to try to conserve as much of the tire rubber as it could possibly conserve.
Maybe a touch bit of draft for Winbo up the road. Only 8 seconds to go on the clock, so this likely going to be their last attempt on the racetrack, and for just about a majority of the field, in fact. We'll see if anybody's able to get towards the finishing mark or takes the finishing laps. Schaefer, after pushing the whole time, elects to just come in and pit. Christian Smith's doing the same, as well as a few others. Adam Staint looking to take advantage of the draft currently. On positions, have an invalidated lap time there. Max Reedmower taking a look back at the Division 1 driver. They're amongst one of the final drivers who can complete the runs. They also have Precision Racing's Division 1 team, Team Heusinkveld's Jan Sinkowski, along with the Eclipse racing car, the 217 of Jake Shirley, Delta V racing on the track, Ingersoll Rand amongst those who can complete qualifying runs if they so choose.
But do we have any of the teams that can realistically contest for the pole position? I don't think we have. Maybe Maniti might be the only one, and even then, I think it's a long shot.
But the trend, remember, usually has been drivers just electing to pit on the final lap. We've rarely seen the drivers take the chance. We have one here. Reedmoor looking to see if he can get higher than 5th. He could not best his time. How close? How about a couple 10,000ths of a second difference?
I was going to say, was that 1,000 of a second difference from his best lap?
To the nearest 10,000th, it was nearly identical.
Yeah.
And with that, that just about wraps things up. In fact, all the other drivers mentioned have already completed their qualifying runs, which means in turn, the rest of them just have to return to the pit lane before they close things down here today at Imola. And talking about this racetrack, it has had a couple different names over the years, with the Monza circuit during that branding, now back to the Autodrome National de Monza, the Temple of Speed, always an intriguing circuit. From the banking you just seen there when it was utilized up until around the 1960s, up to today with the current layout. Today should bring some exciting action, to say the very least. Your expectations, first of all, for this round?
I expect a very conservative start of a race. I really don't want to see the rare repetition what we saw in the Andrews series, that we had basically a safety caution, I think, on the very first lap. I hope that we don't see that. But I think it's going to be very conservative. We know these cars don't make it on fuel on 1 full hour. So it's going to be exciting, those strategy shenanigans happening.
Well, drivers completed their qualifying runs for today's action here from Italy. In turn, a grand total of about 42 drivers looking to run today. Only one team didn't put up a qualifying time, the World of Sim Racing team. Their driver did not jump into the server until the final 8 minutes of the qualifying session. And in turn, drivers will have a few minutes to be able to warm things up and practice before they get things going for today and make sure things are sorted. Drivers are being told they will be advancing at 10 minutes past the hour, 6 minutes of warm-ups being rewarded before today's race. Drivers will also have 2 minutes to be able to grit themselves into their cars to make sure they're prepared for today. The reason that part's important, one driver yesterday in Club Sport Renzo missed the grid despite the time.
Oof. Who was it?
It was one of the teams who were in the touring cars in the top 7. Let's take a look at the weather conditions though. 32 degrees Celsius, the track temp, 22 Celsius, the air temp. When it comes to the skies, it's partly cloudy. Just around noon, it's April Fool's Day in Sim. It's April the 1st. Technically moving up to April the 2nd, should say. In that regard, either way, that's about 72 Fahrenheit for the air, 89 for the track temperature. Winds currently about 4 kilometers an hour, 3 miles an hour to the east. That is currently parallel, or not parallel, dissecting a different direction in the straights. Let's take a look at the prizes once more. In regards to today, in regards to the season, should say, champions for Division 1 pick up the Heusinkveld 3-pedal set, Sim pedals, Ultimate Plus, and the base plate. Then Division 2 and 3 champions also receive pedals, Heusinkveld 3-pedal set, Sim pedals, Sprint, including the base plate. Got a lot to race for, not just in terms of points, but for some of the best sim racing hardware for pedals you can have on the market. Renzo.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
About the prizes? I like the prizes. I wish I could get a Heusinkveld sprint set. But one of the things, can I bring one thing up? I think when we were looking about the weather really quickly.
Yes.
Very interesting to see 32 degrees up to the midday. So if there's one thing that I'm expecting, I'm not expecting a scorching track. Which for Monza, we know it burns out the left tires like it is Christmas. So we're not, I don't expect to see that. Of course, we might see tire changes coming in every single pit stop that we're probably going to see. But it's going to be interesting how the tire strategy is going to pan out. If people are actually going to do 2 tire sets, just do the normal pit stop, which is 33 seconds. We know tires take a little bit less now than fuel. It is done at the same time, but because it is not scorching hot, that could be a game changer here.
A few more minutes for the drivers to sort things out for the respective session. In terms of the racing of itself today, you mentioned the expectations potentially with the fuel save. In turn, how do you expect the racing to play out with that, where we're talking pre-race, expecting the braking marks to go back as far back as 300 meters for the lift and coast?
Yeah, because I know from experience that you could do lift and coast starting about 250, you break around the 125, and because you don't have that full maybe clutch and coast, you can start maybe lifting coasting around the 300 and then go more aggressively and break around the 100 meter board, or even at 125 to 110. So that things could happen just so you can be maybe on the same numbers. I'm not gonna say don't ever trust the commentators not on the same numbers, but it can be something really close, and you see shenanigans up to 300 to 250 to start lifting coasting. So just to match numbers and see if you can get within that hour.
And keep in mind today, the separation in qualifying, one of the tightest margins of the season, from the top of the board to the bottom. Not even getting to a separation of 3 seconds between the Division 1 and Division 3 drivers in the first to 41st qualifying times, Renzo.
Yeah, I think it is just one of the aspects of Monza, because it is a highly fast pace lap, and you can basically be within draft. We're not going to see that full separation like we normally would see in any other track, so I'm not surprised to see that. I really want to see how that race pace is going to be compared, though, if we actually going to get that full separation whenever we get that green flag.
Race pace indeed is critical, but having starting positions are critical. Having the track position around the racetrack is also important. In turn, these drivers, let's take a look at how they'll start today. It's Santosi on the pole today for Isabella Esports, picking up the pole time in the 146s, 146.835. Sean Campbell, how it's the chance to be able to lock up the championship today with a strong finish. He starts second. The top driver from Division 2, Deutsche Payment, starts off in third. They'll start alongside a fellow Division 2 driver, Sim Racing Red in Adam Lukowitz. Max Raidmuller starts fifth with Jason Dilworth in the closing stage of the session in the top 6. Precision Racing Esports is Dominic Olivier in 7th, Jan Sinkowski in 8th. Neil Winbo also putting a Division 2 car in the top 10, 9th overall, and it's Dennis Frizik in the 10th spot. Horst Egno Ovando starts 11th for RSR by Butt Kicker, and it's German Sim Racing in 12th spot, once more with the 127. Behind them, Ethan Bass the Ford. As expected, some good speed from them today in the 13th spot. Then it's Carlo Esports in 14th. Dominic Knockel for WS Racing Esports in 15th. GSE Racing by ACI car in 16th. Zach Kerr starts alongside Love 46 in the top 18 today. Behind them, RD Simsport, they'll have to serve a drive-through penalty for a tow infraction in qualifying in 19th. Jake Shirley in 20th. Then it's State and Moreno in the top 22. Ingersoll ran, showed good speed yesterday in Club Sport, and has shown speed throughout this season. Most of the races, they've been looking for luck. Delta V Racing starts 23rd alongside the Quasar Sim Racing car in 24th from Division 2. 25th spot today goes to Geeks Energy Sim Racing, followed by Simone Din Natal for Absolute Motorsport Aesop Jr. John Williams driving the 208 to start off today for Pistana Nomad in 27th, with Sergio Gomez 28th. Behind them is the top driver from Division 3, Pistana Nomad, having a strong season on that side, starting off in 29th though. The grid, IVRA Liveries in 30th. 31st spot today, going to P1 Esport. They've been good in qualifying much of the year, with Boris Motorsports Aries in 32nd, looking to avoid the fires today. Then it's Spencer Ritzma for Echelon in 33rd. Few racers inside the top 34 in the gridding procedures, but have been shuffled back here on the grid, with Precision Race Esports moving up a slot. You also have Vector Sim Racing amongst that top grouping. There's V Racers, as mentioned, getting shuffled back there. Rusty Spatula is in Olympus Esports, the top 38, with Jason Taylor's JTR Esports car in 39th. Then it's Make Performance Jr. and Team Heusinkveld's 248, rounding out the drivers who took times. That's the Division 2 entry. One team did not take a time in qualifying. Division 3 entry for World of Sim Racing, with Marco Pereira behind the wheel. 42 cars ready to grid from Italy. As the drivers get themselves sorted, the track temperature of note has soared an additional few degrees. On the Fahrenheit side, at least to 95 Fahrenheit. The temperatures are rising, Lorenzo. The tensions are building. And now they get themselves sorted for one pace lap before they get themselves ready to go racing.
Yeah, which is going to be interesting just to see if anybody going to turn on and off the engine to, you know, like I said before, fuel stuff. Fuel is going to be the word we're going to be talking throughout this race, right, Justin? Which is going to be an interesting topic as well. We get the green flag. But other than that, I like to see the distribution on the grid. We have a BMW up in the front, Porsche, then Porsche, BMW, and you probably have two Mercedes. So I'm liking this good distribution of cars. There isn't an over-dominant car in this race, even though you have different divisions. So I'm really looking for whenever we get that green flag, if there is any car that from all these brands that look better on race pace than qualifying pace.
Already the drivers getting themselves situated to roll, so this burns a few minutes off the clock before we go racing here today. And the interesting mark about today's expectations, IVRA before the start of today's race presented a theory brought forward by one of the fellow drivers from the community, where there was a lot of confidence approaching turn 1, then it dips to low between turns 1 and 2, gains positivity while making it and after making the corner, and then what happens when there's a car that gets in a collision. How do you avoid making sure the curve I'm referring to, called the Monza theory by one competitor, ends up happening for your race end to make sure you avoid the potential of that we've seen in the past in the first 2 turns?
Wait, so you're saying they brought the team foil hats before this race even started?
Correct! And made it into a graphical chart.
Nice. I like graphical charts. I'm actually going to take a look at it right now.
So, on that
nice.
Very nice, indeed. For information on what we're referring to, go to IVRA League on Twitter. That is all one word to follow along with the IVRA social media platform. On that note, though, your favorite drivers to win today, who do you put on that pedestal as the ones to watch for the track like this, rather, at Monza?
Ooh, all right, you put me on the spot right here. All right, so I'm actually gonna put German Sim Racing on the spot right here. I think their mid-race pace is actually going to pay off a little bit. I think their Anna Vukowicz and whoever's driving with them might be Patrick Prusat. I'm not 100% sure will pay off as long as they're patient in it. Within the AM class, I think Viraco has a really good chance to lift off from their over-dominant performance on the rest of their division. But Division 1, I think this is going to be the Sean Campbell show at a certain point in this race. I'm just waiting for it.
See some of the drivers making sure to warm up the tires here and get situated as they head off to Ascari. Outside of the attrition expected up to start on 1 and 2, where are the most difficult parts of the track expected I should say, for today? And why?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if I can actually have a solid answer on that one, to be very honest with you.
To say that there's any other difficult corners on the racetrack?
I would say Lesmo. Out of the corners, and obviously Ascari would be the obvious one because it is a very fast-flowing track and it can catch you off guard pretty easily. I'll say Lesmo just to the nature of if you run wide, especially on the transition from 1 to 2, you basically can have your race over just in the blink of an eye.
But then the drivers have started and fully now doubled up for today's round. About an hour and 51 minutes on the clock. They take to the start line. Able to get rolling for today's rolling start procedure. Drivers will be controlled by race control for when the green flag waves in session. And glad to have you with us today for IVRA competition. This is the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. Glad to have you with us today from Monza here in Italy on RaceSpot. On the right side of the racetrack, it's Santosi. Left side, it's Campbell. Up at the front of the field, 42 strong. A lot of checking up, looking to time it. Green flag waves up at the stand, off and away, and a bit of a checkup from the inside. The right side of the track rips about with the slow. Here comes Campbell with the better launch on the left side of the track. A bit of a bump draft in the braking zone. German Sim Racing backs it up. And here we go, side by side, make it 3-4 wide. Who makes it through the first corners? Everybody to the front for now. No spinnies in the back yet.
And just keep it that way so far. This is what I like to see. No incidents on the lap number 1 and then turn number 1 and 2. Then all scraping themselves, just following one singular train going to Della Roglia.
Sean Campbell with a great start, though, able to jump up to the race lead already, heading to the Della Roggia, looking to pull away and lead the train. Up already by 5 car lengths in that Porsche. It's been a dream start, and the drive-through penalties have been awarded, by the way, to the two teams mentioned, the 250 and the 310. Both have to come down. Mentioned they had towed in the respective qualifying session. For the most part, though, single file already the name of the game. They head off to Ascari for the first time we're in zone.
Yeah, and I honestly thought that Santonze actually had a little bit of a problem in trying to carry that BMW into Lesmo 1 and 2. I thought that was complicated. Side by side now is Olympus. Does Lyubov actually lift off? I think she has to.
Take given with the GSA Racing by ACI car. Seen them do well all throughout the season. German Sim Engineering, as it's called, mind you, is a team that does have support from the manufacturer that's on that car, and Audi, keep in mind, in their first non-German sim racing series. As we take a look at Love 46 fall behind. The thing is, all of these drivers have lost 1 second in the first lap already to Campbell and company.
And I was going to, but still within the draft relatively, which is really important. The one thing you really don't want to be losing over here, Justin, especially at the start of the race, is losing draft. If you lose draft, you're basically going to be on the back foot immediately. I see Team Heusinkveld side by side, making that overtake on the outside. Nicely done.
A little bit close with the sand trap. Dominic Olivier trying to keep up the momentum. Look on board from the catboard seat. This is German Sim Racing Blue. Rizek watching. Olivier got a better run coming up from the inside, even in the Mercedes AMG. And earth of the brakes is the Porsche, but Olivier slams the door back.
And again, back into the draft topic, just look at the gap they actually have towards the next car in front of them. I think that was the percent that Nomad AMG that is right in front of them. So if they actually just keep fighting like this is not going to do them any good. You're not going to be able to see fuel efficiently as laps go by if you still keep going side by side throughout these laps.
Things looking calm up towards the front for the most part. Keep in mind, you may notice Division 3 has had a shuffle. That's involving the 356. Keep in mind, pressure has been building in that championship with the tie with Rusty Spatulas. Both those championship contenders not amongst the top two in the early going. Those drivers back in the 20s over on the racetrack. As one car goes to the barrier, let's see what happened here in the midst of others who go bye-bye.
Just taking a quick look though on Johan Martin Meyer, you know, just getting that touch and then chaos ensues right after. But the good thing is they all managed to keep it on the track despite losing tons and tons of amount of time and maybe some scraped cars in the process, as we see a big pile of cars just following one another in a very similar fight.
One Esport Orange has parked it, as here's a look at the replays. It's never good when you're already cutting through the grass at that section.
Yep.
Some of these drivers, like Rusty Spatulas, with damage in turn. And also, you see that smoke puff? That's probably the 356 who had to loop their way out of the grass. They also got looped around and lost a ton of time in turn. See the Delta V machine trying to hold off in front for the time being in turn after the spin and return to the retrack.
And if I remember correctly, I think when you were actually covering Suzuka around with the Delta V car, they're not having simply the best races lately, haven't they?
Yeah, when thinking back to Belle Isle, they were amongst those who got bounced around like a pinball, it seemed. Not by their own choosing, but they were bounced around.
Yeah, and then Suzuka, just a plethora of mistakes, especially at the late portions of the race. Involved in a crash, damaged wing, so it's rough, you know. That takes a toll on your confidence if you're looking into really good spots in the championship moving forward.
By the way, in regards to what you've seen in the backdrop for one of those spins prior to the replay, should say, Garrett Thompson now out of the race. Quasar Sim Racing having to go off the track. This is the spin we're talking about with Ryan Scott Hamilton tied for Division 3 in points for the lead. That in turn is why they are so far back now in the pylon for the time being compared to some of their fellow competitors by 5-6 seconds. Also of note, Meg Performance's junior car has parked it after the penalty. He won Esport out of the race. Here's a look at the Thompson spin. Got some help. Renzo.
Luckily for them coming back on track, but the rejoin though, Connery Maddock probably would have a seizure looking at that if that was a little bit like a split second extra on the rejoin.
I mean, I've seen worse than past month.
True.
This also happened to Jason Taylor. And that is how cars in the pack have picked up damage from V Racers.
And that's the trick about the chicanes around Monza, because they're very deceiving. Because they have a certain flow. In the fastest flow, it's kind of like go aggressively on the curbies, especially at the first curb. You go into the right-hand side of the first chicane, and you basically are transitioning to the left-hand side, and you're still keeping speed. You don't have to maybe lift up the car or go slowly to make the transition into the left-hand side. So that's what probably happened to Jason. Just couldn't get that first right-hand side properly. The BMW did. Measure the speed. There was a little bit of a difference. Just couldn't brake in time, therefore causing the contact.
Just about 7-8 minutes into green flag action here once again from Monza. Prince Renzo partner with you for today's action for the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. All this while Sean Campbell continues to lead the way. And I want to ask in terms of this as well today. As you see Shovel shuffling to the back of the queue, as this race goes on today, is it better to be up towards the front or in the midst of the pack? Because we know, based on the traffic effects, how the fuel save can work. case.
If you're in Division 1, you have to be towards the front. I think it's an undisputed claim. If you are, for example, Heusinkveld, if you're Delta Sport, if you're Maniti, heck, even if you are P3, which is Team Forzilla, but I know Team Forzilla is not here anymore. But even then, you have to be towards the front. If you are Division 2 and 3, however, it depends where the leader is and how far from the leader you are.
Little squeeze up there, meanwhile, from Division 2 driver Adam State. And it's on a Division 3 driver, Carl Esports' Christoph Reyes. Where you know, in this train with Shirley as well as Dina Dow up towards the front cars. And the major thing to notice too, the driver 16th on back, it seems to be, and we've seen this with Lap 46 more so, the second you get up towards the front of the queue or a chance to it, why not send it? We just seen an attempt there and completed on Shirley.
The thing is, for me, is if you're going to send this early on in the race, try to make sure that you're not going to lose chunks of time in the process. And from what it looks like, they did lose some time. I don't know if they're going to be relatively safe with the draft itself, because we have to take into effect, I think this might be the first race, or the first or second race, where they actually are driving under the new draft influences, where you're not going to get 1.5 seconds of draft. You need to be within maybe a second or 0.8 of a second, rather, for you to be pulled by the car in front of you, which makes things a tad more difficult this time now.
Mutso's getting shuffled back. German Sim Racing Blue. Rizik had a mistake in Parabolica that cost him this spot to RSR by butt kicker. German Sim Racing.de by ACV car also closing in as a result here. And even shuffles like that seems to be enough to lose you the groups. And we've seen how difficult it is to catch the draft packs back up as the race progresses.
Yeah. If you have a draft pack that is actually consistent and fast and might be doing relatively the same laps as you are, and I mean, let's just say if you are the last car in the pack, in the leading pack, and somebody's trying to chase you, you're the last car, and then you go up in front, and those who are keeping up are being just as fast as you are safe, because it's very hard unless you commit mistakes.
Drive-through penalties just awarded to 4 different teams for
Yikes.
incidents during the opening lap. Drive-through penalties for Emil Winbo, Adam State, Johan Martin Mayer, and Ted Lowendick. All of them involved in incidents reported and reviewed during the race control because they all left the grid before the starting line. So all of them have to come to the pit lane to serve a drive-through. They
left the grid at the starting line.
I think that means they passed before the start and finish line.
I was gonna say they need jump start of sorts.
I mean, as there goes a jump to the inside and some spins to the outside. Hello, that is Emil Winbo. His wishes for no one to touch him today in turn 1 have gone to fail.
Yep. And let's be honest, Justin, can I say this? When Bristenda did that move on the inside, I kind of saw that.
That was Jason Dilworth. Winbo, as mentioned before today's race, in the discussions from drivers on IVRA's Discord servers, asked the fellow competitors, can no one touch me in this corner? He's been rejected on that proposal.
Nearly with authority.
I mean, if it was authority, it'd be turn 1 lap 1.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That was with a layup attempt. If that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Either way.
Like a fadeaway? Or a hook?
Do you know what a layup is?
Yeah, I do. I watch basketball.
Either way.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. A hook is more so a post move. But anyway, for Satellite Racing, there are amongst the teams that have to come in for the drive-through as a result here. This is going to be very costly for some. For reference, the teams who already have served drive-throughs are RD SimSport 36, but that was at the start. Delta V, who got the penalty, is 44 seconds back already. So some of these teams going to be dropped back about 19-20 seconds as a result of the start infractions, as more drivers acquaint themselves with each other's doors.
Yeah, that's worth for the lead spot in Division 2. So Vukovic actually being slightly defensive, and as a consequence, here, both the guys of Division 1, Sean Campbell and Alexis Entonze, are actually breaking away a little bit. But you can see Schaefer just driving with some, can I see desperation, trying to make that overtake and then close the gap towards the belt and Delta.
See, as we've seen German sim racing really strong, especially when they've had drivers from their camp to work with. Right now, the pressure is on, though, to build a buffer because Maniti wants to try and gain some time up to be able to catch up to the top two in Division 1 who are running away with the gap now as a result of that switch. No move quite yet for Reedmuller, but now that's going to be pressing some of the urgency because the point structure, it's important for Reedmuller to keep up with Campbell and Santosi. Being behind two Division 2 drivers doesn't help his point situation.
No, it doesn't. I'm just taking a quick look and seeing where the 166 is actually relatively on the track. So the 166 is in 10th place, but 7th in the class standings. So I would say Maniti, I wouldn't drive with desperation despite being behind two. It's not slower cars, it would be lower tier or lower class cars, but even then they're being very fast regardless of what's happening. The thing is, he cannot allow to relax for a moment, because then if that 166 comes, now I would say that is direct competition, trying to get in with that top 6 for avoiding pre-quali into the next season. So let's see what the 101 is going to be patient moving forward into this race.
One of the biggest moving cars in the field has just been awarded a penalty. That is Simon de Natal for Absolute Motorsport Ace Jr., who is just a few car lengths up from this side-by-side battle, mind you. Penalized force with a contact scene moments ago with the 225. Quasar Sim Racing that sent him to the wall. Now rubbing doors, Jake Shirley and Sanjo Mersani. Division 2 drivers going on alongside. Getting back to the point of the driver who's leading their pack, De Natal no longer going to be leading this pack in a moment with the 22nd stop and hold.
Yeah, and the driver in the BMW just ahead, just getting some slightly loose in the transition of Lesmo, and you can see the car just slightly squirrely through the transitions, but just keeping up so far, which is really good to see. But Jake, I think, just trying to find that opening to make that overtake. Just where he's going to do that is the question.
Really now riding on behind. Two cars back in the train. The 289 has just been awarded a penalty. TR Geeks Energy Sim Racing's Flores Harsford have to serve a drive-through penalty as well in regards to that same incident with the 225 because they did not slow down and hit the back end of somebody, apparently, or ran a car over, is the word race control put down. So 2 penalties from one incident already. One of those cars for the queue just served the penalty. The other didn't tell, staying as long as they can on the track. Meanwhile, as to be expected, Maniti takes the leapfrog approach to gain a car spot.
And there you go, making that overtake work, going into 4th place in this grid, and just kind of like tapering the pressure way off of him. The question is, can this train of cars, I think I see up to 5 cars, just to get a quick look. Yeah, it's 5 cars relatively. Can they approach that German sim racing BMW? Because if they're all matching speed and pushing one another, the reality is they can actually get through them and make that overtake for Maniti and then get into P3. And the reality of getting podium spot or even getting closer to Delta Sport and its belt is real.
Extremely real. Now let's play it out throughout the race. Keep in mind, German Sim Racing's 246 has picked up the draft, intriguingly enough. Delta Sport and Seville Esports with Campbell and Santosi now 1-2 there. Still. Keep an eye on how things play out there. Another intriguing thing to mention for today, this is a track with these special off-track rules. A lot of drivers have come very close, if not have already picked up some in turn because of how difficult it is to even stay on the pavement in some of these corner exits. For example, the run up through Parabolica, which is not exempt from those, or not included in those rules. See how much they just have to go towards that green turf, and some drivers cradle that turf, actually.
You have to kind of ride on it like it is nothing. So, and I know in official series, you can get an off track by just riding the green turf, especially the arrow, the green stuff.
Here comes Moreno, one of the Division 1 teams. So Ran GT 3 Sprint 1 nearly sprints themselves into the Turtles. Hold on, here comes the battle for the lead. Santosi building up a run. Campbell slams the door slightly. In turn, holds on. By the way, the racers, if you remember, had that picked up damage. They've been rewarded for getting said damage and making the said contact by having to serve a black flag for a drive-through now.
And in that perspective, take a quick look and see who actually joined this kind of like scrap between Delta Sport and Seville.
We have one car stopped and the caution is out. The 321 Olympus Esports Lambda has stopped in Parabolica and it's just towed. We're under caution because of this. On their own.
Yeah, Leclerc line. The only difference is a BMW, not a Ferrari, in the different spot.
So that makes things a bit intriguing in the strategy and turns this into the full-out race that a lot of drivers were thinking if there was a caution. Not in that way I think they were thinking the caution would come out, but now it's the question, what do you do? We only ran about 20 minutes.
Good question. What I think specifically? This basically put the drivers into a situation they can make the full hour if we go 5 minutes, because the lap is the yellow flag lap is very long. It's 2 minutes relatively, so it's 2 minutes. Give it more than 2, it's gonna be around. They're gonna pit around the hour, Justin. The question is how if they pit around the hour is if they make it past the hour is how close do they make that, and is it enough for them to maybe avoid a splash and dash at the end? Because I don't think I would be surprised if I see people pit stopping now. But then again, I'm a commentator. Never trust a commentator's strategy as well. Never mind the math. So it's gonna be interesting whenever they open up the pit stops.
Some of the events yesterday, calculators were definitely starting to catch on fire with some of the calculations. Now, as we continue these pace laps here, to give a little more context to the graphic we were talking about earlier, that was through social media. It was originally brought up by Sean Campbell because there was a in-depth discussion apparently between him and Ted Lowendick about what is the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you have the range of confidence from know nothing to goop, where if you know nothing, you reach the, I'm going to say, the peak of not as knowledgeable, to the valley of despair. For those who know a little but not a lot. Then you take the slope of enlightenment up to the plateau of sustainability. Ted Lowendick, by the way, was the one who in turn took it and ran with it and said, instead, if you get collected in an incident, your confidence by the race end should be at the very bottom of the graphic. For reference, Sean Campbell's in the lead. Ted Lowendick is back after the drive-through in 35th, so one took the original method and is striving. One's at the back and, well, has already exceeded their own graphic.
So you're saying he's way below the what would be the expectation of his graphics? Is that what you're saying?
He's already passed his expectation based on the Monza theory.
A fair point. It's kind of like, oh man, these psychological theories just get me like riled up. I try to see it as a the half full, half empty glass. It's kind of like me. Like I think Sean is looking at the half full right now, and Ted obviously looking at nearly empty glass as we currently speak. But is Ted within the same lap though? I haven't looked at it. I think he is.
Everyone's on the lead lap except for the cars who have crashed.
True. Okay, so there's a chance.
So now it's the question, what does the strategy entail here? No peels off for the top runners here, so it looks like we may see a lot of stay outs here.
But have they opened up the pit stops?
Haven't heard any command over the radio. That's...
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's like, I think whenever they are given the command to, all right, pit lane is open for pit stops, I wouldn't be surprised to see a few teams coming in, and I would say maybe those who are not in the front, maybe those are at the back, try to do something different and see where it leads them at the end of things.
That's actually an important thing to consider, because there is that restriction, so to speak, on when the technical pit window is too.
Yeah.
Keep in mind. Although that window seems to be a little bit different per se, maybe today. No, yes, it's an hour and 45 minutes. We're not an hour and 5 minutes. That explains that. Pardon me.
Yeah, no. We're not even. I think we're reaching the 45-minute threshold into this race. So this is why, for me, it's interesting to see if any teams actually come in. I don't think they would come in.
Yeah. They can't even go in, technically.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
And remember, because some teams make driver swaps and others don't, each team has to be in the box 60 seconds. Most teams able to stop at about 1 minute and 1 second. They will check that with the stopwatch from the sim side, not just on the software side. So, say you take what happened to Fordzilla at Daytona and you go 41 seconds, you're likely going to serve a penalty if you leave the box after 41 seconds rather than 1 minute and 1 second, because
yeah,
the difference between driver swap and no driver swap is substantial, so you cannot afford to forget that today.
And I'm trying to remember, is it, I might be completely wrong here, and I've been trying to follow the GT Sprints at my total best. This is not the first race they've raced with the new fuel and tire regulations. I think the last race of Suzuka was under the same influence of doing tires and fuel at the same time, isn't it?
I believe so, but it's more so the intrigue on the safe side for this round. Already taking
Yeah.
So we're getting ready for the restart. Everyone looking to regroup themselves. We have 38 drivers still in the race. Delta V amongst those red taken service, one drive-through taken for V Racers. Or should I say the Delta V was with the stop in the box for 8.96 seconds during the drive-through penalty situation. So with that, get situated, ready to go. Division 1 being led by Delta Sport Sean Campbell. Division 2 being led by German Sim Racing Red, 246 by Adam Wilkowitz. Division 3 has been very quiet today, but it's Christoph Reyes leading the way with the significant buffer for Vicaro Esports. But all set to go for the restart situation. And when it comes to race restarts today, drivers were informed on the safety car restarts they would be not allowed to pass before the run through Parabolica. Waiting for the roll through from Campbell as the pace car is now off the racetrack. Green, green, green. Campbell already off and away. There goes Barney the flagman with the green as well, and several cars are ready and looking to make 3 wide passes down the front.
3, I nearly see 4 wide up in the back.
The drivers want to go, and they want to go quick, including the Division 3 leaders. One car has already crashed before the start mark and has gone in a tow. There goes the move from Carl Esports, who has a slowdown penalty. More near contact. There's the battle with Deutsche Payment with one of the Division 1 cars. They are blocking off Dominic and Libier to the left side. Lavier heading up to Del Rogia, forced to line back up, stay single file with the shuffling. Also, black flag, drive-through penalty, Christian Smits, Team Heusinkveld. That just awarded in the server. So another car having a server penalty right after taking the restart. Here's a look at the heart of the pack still. A lot of shuffling in the midst of the Lesmos. And their Valorous making some moves up towards the front of that grouping now, trying to sort themselves up. Echelon watching some of the side-by-side. Ritzman watching Kurt trying to pull back Nick McLaughlin.
I kind of figured that the guys in Division 3 would try to drive a little bit more with more desperation to get closer to Braco, which still comfortable spot they're in, which is P16. But just out of curiosity, that penalty, was that awarded for the Team Heusinkveld 148, or was that one the 149?
Well, 248.
Oh, the
248. Okay. Dude, remember one of the contacts, but don't worry now about a bit of contact instead for John Williams, the 208. And Alistair Kirk may get a second penalty of the grace with that crossover through Parabolica.
That nearly made a big pile up on the Parabolica. Good avoidance from the driver, especially that AMG on the inside of that black car. She's now fighting side by side.
A lot of battling. All of this is well up at the front. It's separated up for Campbell and Centelzi by 1.3 seconds. They have had a very calm start. In the heart of the pack, not so much. Let's take a look at some of the replays. John Williams going around in the 208.
I think that was RD Simsport that made contact with them from what it looks like.
Yep, and let's take a look at Campbell. This is why the gap is big. Wow! And there goes at least one board.
That was a moment. Sean might be enjoying that, I think.
Yeah, a lot going on. The 166 now dropping down the pylon as well. They were running a 9th. The car we mentioned who had crashed before the start and finish line was the 171 of Kerr. So a lot of shuffling on the board. Campbell taking advantage and running away by half a second this lap over Reed Muller.
And we're seeing the snaking already happen to try to break the toe as best as they can. We are barely into 40 minutes into this race, and we're seeing draft shenanigans like that happen. Wondering if Manini's gonna have the pace and the car, and despite having a V8 engine in the front of that car, to beat the other cars into it.
And let's talk about fuel save. Look at how much they just lifted there. This is kind of a visual representation where it'd be very noticeable, you said.
Yeah, like I said, up to 300 meters, some people would be, lifting up as most conservatively they can. They still know they're probably not safe from that hour mark, and if they are, it's going to be very, very close, in my opinion. And if they make the hour, we're not even sure if the other pit stop, whenever they come out, is going to be ensuring that they have another full hour of fuel, because on average, like I said before, cars around here making around 55 minutes on fuel, 57 minutes if you are indeed brave and you save an extra fuel for another lap. So it's close to call. I would say maybe another yellow flag would throw the dynamic of this race of its rails, and then everybody would be safe into it, because now they can be able to pit stop, I think. But it's still very open as we speak.
And as you see how the train's starting to form up, 7 cars, 4.5 seconds separation. Well, 6 of them within 2 seconds. So keep in mind some smaller groups as a result of how that restart played out, starting to form itself here with about packs of 6 or 7, usually around the trends by this point, if it stays green more so. Here's if anybody's going to take some leapfrog, as we see already a couple drivers coming to the pit lane in the backdrop there, the 134 and 241, both of them with black flags in sim. Also the change, Heusinkveld jumping up one more driver up the queue. Here is what happened to Zach Kerr. And here is the thing, depending on the wheels, the understanding is he accidentally switched the mode the steering wheel was set to. The second he pressed the button, he switched it from computer mode to Xbox and it put him in the wall. Yes, I'm serious.
Back to you, Justin.
Well, here's the thing when it comes to some steering wheels, you can potentially set them up for specific consoles or for a computer rig. It's very easy to accidentally switch the mode, though, if you're just playing around with a button or hit something with your elbow and turn it off.
I've never done that.
I've done it.
You've done it. Oh, okay.
Not during a green flag or
Okay.
during a restart. But I've done that where I played around with it to get the wheel to work. But it's a tough break.
I think the worst I did it was actually rebooting my my wheel on the USB.
You know, one of the worst things that can happen to you as a driver as we see more shuffling for Santa Nomad cars.
3 wide.
Oh, hold on. What a recovery for Ryan Scott Hamilton. He's trying to go places to get up to that Vaccaro car. That is the Division 3 leader. They want to go. They push Kirk forward to get around Winbow.
And Wimbo tried to go big, and then it didn't get paid off at the end of things, right?
Oh, big sends from some Division 2 cars. Christoph Race has lost all the buffer they've had. Race only has one car between him and Hamilton now in the battle for Division 3 lead. How's this going to play out is the tough thing. It looks like everybody wants to pass by Race. Hamilton has found the momentum that they did not start with today.
And just taking a quick look right here, I think Reyes was actually the only individual within the one. Yeah, him and actually Ryan Scott Hamilton were the only individuals within the 150s. But of course, Ryan was actually battling like crazy with Emil and Alistair Kirk with the RD SimSport car. So it's kind of predictable to see with him being in 150s. But even then, good battles going on so far, as we're now going to have a toe-to-toe battle as Vimbo's on the inside is going to make that move. Quickly done and dusted. Now the victory battle on.
Now extremely close amongst that battle. It's close in Division 2. It's starting to close up for Division 1 with some of the draft effect. We're still about 10 minutes out from the pit window. Hamilton still needing to close up 3-4 car lengths to realistically have a chance to send it. And there is a double or triple toe effect off both of these cars now to help them. Meanwhile, up at the front, LD Sports going backwards again. This time, Dominic Olivier in Precision Racing Esports' best run of the year, up to third. Behind them, you're rubbing as Team Heusinkveld jumps up, and that closes up the Division 2 buffer.
And I get why German Racing was actually blinking that car. Adam Vukwitz was not happy at all with the movement from Team Heusinkveld into turn number 1. Sentowski with a very good send, but as a counterpart, he was actually very, very bad during the transitions from turn 1 to turn 2. And does lost time, and look, there's already a gap formed between Sebelt and Team Heusinkveld at that second train of 3 cars. So the draft effect is basically off as we speak.
Oh, a bad run and a bad send! Nearly off the racetrack, Hamilton able to hold on to it. Wow, that was a difficult move. And that was after they went deeper in the brakes heading into Del Rangiat. They fall back, no time penalty though, able to avoid the slowdown.
Somehow, but as a counterpart, not far behind, I can see Precision Racing with Nick's car, Nick McLaughlin's car a little bit behind, and Marco Pereira car is in the World of Sim Racing not too far behind. So they're leaving room for a lot of trouble if they get overtaken by the Echelon Simsport and pretend a Nomad car behind. That would open a four-way battle for the Division 3 lead.
With how things are playing out, this Division 3 lead could be up for grabs. We've seen that play out much of the year. This time much closer, though, is Ryan Scott Hamilton. In a car length to get the toe. No assistance for Ray this time. Ritzma too far back to assist as well. Here comes Hamilton to the outside, down the front. And complete the move, shall we, goes Hamilton. Oh, look at this race, trying to open the door back with the Sen. Nearly slams into the door. Hamilton shrugs it off.
Yeah, and I think behind there's a move from Precision, so Nick just jumped in one spot from what it looked like on Precision Nomad, so it's on.
At the Division 2 car for Echelon, Ritzma nearly coming close up to Fraze's front end. In turn, Hamilton running away in the Division 3 lead, now with the advantage after being spun around at the start of the race. Next nearest car for reference in the division, as you talked about, is Nick McLaughlin, 19th overall on the track, up 16 grid slots. Another penalty. And would you guess, it's to Kirk, another drive-through as a result of the contact we talked about through Parabolica. So the 258 for the second time has to drive from the pit lane.
Where it rains, it pours.
I mean, they kind of throw the bucket on their heads that time in Parabolica.
100%.
Anyhow, though, in regards to how things are shaping up in this line, starting to take the calm portions once again in the division. For Ryan Scott Hamilton, going to be critical. What's happening, though, with the Carl Esports? They seem to have fallen off a cliff in terms of the pace as a whole, with them getting shuffled so much.
Not being able to keep up, and I can see that Echelon car from what it looks like to go one more spot. As we're seeing, I don't know if you're seeing that as well. RD Simsport coming in, but then again, this is sort of the pit stop for the penalty that you just said, and the penalty, like you just said. That's gonna make things very lively for Div 3 because now there's packs of cars within Div 3.
Well, amongst the drivers in this grouping looking to battle or at least close up to Ryan Scott Hamilton, World of Sim Racing team is the intriguing one of the day. They did not practice today. They did not qualify today. They were the only team not putting a single lap in either of the sessions until the warm-up. Marco Pereira only put in 2 laps in the warm-up before taking the green flag today. That's how minimal the preparation was in the session in itself for today's round. And they're still amongst one of the bigger movers, too, as a result of 21 spots. If we look at the road.
That's what I call swag.
What's that swag?
Yep.
What? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
No, like, you do minimal practice and you are good in your own division. You know, you're moving up places. You are within a really good contention spot for the win of your own class. So you're showing off swag. You know, you're showing to the others. I don't need practice to be good in a race, but then again, that's just me saying a lot of nonsensical stuff.
It's not. It doesn't mean they didn't practice outside of it throughout their own sessions.
True. I'm just taking as in the internal practices. Of course, there's official cities and things like that. Take care of.
Oh, that was Ryan Harnage for Aries, nearly off the track. Ted Lowendick moving up the spot. At this point, that theory that he created is somewhere not on the track, as Love 46 returns to the track after repairing the car for 3 laps and taking a tow. It's been intriguing for Vector Sim Racing. It's intriguing for the line that he has called Headline. His branding seems to be everywhere on every other team, even ones he's not on, as we see some of the battling with one of the WS machines. And there goes a look from the Yachty. That is Maximilian Renner looking to go. The GSC racing car not able to make the move.
They're trying, man. That's what I like to see. I think they're one of the few Audis that we have in this group in a way.
Once again, to emphasize, for those who missed earlier, as touched upon a little bit, this is a team that is in their first foray out of German sim racing competitions, or German-speaking leagues, as they describe. They are the only team officially supported by Audi, because their partner, the ACI part of the team, is the Audi Club International. So that's where that manufacturer supplement comes in. The German sim engineering part, which is the GSC side, is a manufacturer for equipment. As we look at the front, Team Heusinkveld looking to manufacture some positions with Sabo.
And trying to make sure those Heusinkveld pedals are actually working. There's some scrap between them, but somehow, some way, Team Heusinkveld managed to conquer one position at Sabel. Certainly, Sabel is not going to be happy with that, even though their safety belts proving they are very uptight and safe.
I will say this when it comes to Heusinkveld pedals, one of the main descriptors with that, very sturdy, very reliable, able to send things forward as they have the confidence in the sections. Some trouble up in front of the leaders, just noticed. Simone Di Natale went off the track and just had rejoined in front of Sean Campbell just about. Something is broken on that car. They just cut through the grass, the whole straight, hit the wall, and then rolled slow before picking the speed back up, nearly hitting the leader.
Sounds like something disconnected. Kind of like, you know, when your wheel kind of like disconnects, or your monitor turns off and then goes back on again, something like it.
That's our second technical issue like that of the race. I will say this, Dan Sitkowski at least has somebody dropped off of to run away from Sabel after the pass. I will say this when it comes to Team Heusinkveld as well. They've looked very consistent when at this racetrack today, at least. They've been consistent in the championship in Division 1. In fact, they're the only team outside of Sean Campbell who have shown consistent consistency, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. I think the only bad result you can say was Nürburgring, and if I remember correctly, it was due to some external issues, not even to their own fault. And also Belle Isle wasn't the best result, but then again, it's Belle Isle, like I said before, is a Russian roulette. You drive around a street circuit that it's a hit or miss, basically.
6th and 7th places aren't the worst positions, though, to be able to finish.
Not at all.
The point split is significant, yes, but it's not the worst positions you can have.
No, yeah. That puts you, if I remember correctly, you have to be top 6, I think, in your own divisions for you to make secure the spot in the next season, like you probably would have in the club sport and entrance championships, to avoid a pre-quali. So for them, with basically 2 races and a half to go, they are in a very safe spot. They just have to end this championship on a high note, and they probably would be safe to avoid pre-quali shenanigans.
Pit window is open for drivers who want to come in from here on out, up to about 45 minutes to go on the clock, approaching the top of the hour to go in the race as well. Campbell currently holding on to 1 second advantage. It's been slowly dropping, not rapidly, but Reid Moore and Olivier have slowly crawled their way up there by a 10th or 2 a lap to close up the draft.
Yeah, and now they're within the seconds, so they're going to be riding that draft from Sean Campbell. My question is, as we're looking 26 laps, as we're seeing cars into the pit lane, and my question is, if I remember, the max these cars can go is up to 29 laps, I think. So, how close from the hour they will actually get when they start their pit stop?
Keep in mind, we're on 25 laps in. As there goes a send for Ryan Scott Hamilton around one of the Division 2 cars and Jake Shirley. I will say this when it comes to Ryan Scott Hamilton. That Pristana Nomad car is lightning quick today. How quick? They're doing better than their Division 2 entry, partly with the slide, yes, but they're up 15 spots now, and the lap times are just about matching the race leader, Sean Campbell.
That's good to know.
Part of that's draft, yes, but they are quick. They have enough average pace to be in the top 10 on the track if they continue this up.
And that would be wonders for that Pristana Nomad team, given the fact they are tied with Rusty Spatulas. And as far as I'm concerned, looking at the time standings, I'm not seeing anywhere where their Rusty Spatulas are in comparison to where they are in the track right now. Rusty's still in the they are in the track. I was gonna mention that, but in terms of proximity to that Pristana Nomad Division 3 car, nowhere close.
And impressive what we've seen from the Teal machine. Still a long way to go in this type of race. This is the type of racetrack, though, I've noticed, where even though there's always a certain sense of it's full speed, it's a lot of full throttle, it's a track where you can have underdog stories, though, pop up in turn if you've got the consistency of the right car combination setup in it. Now, we get to see which drivers up in the front can see what combinations work to get around Campbell. It's down to half a second. Now, Reed Moore and Olivier are in drafting distance for the lead.
I'm just wondering one thing, Justin. I know they managed to close the gap to Sean. I'm just wondering how hard is actually Sean driving that car?
I mean, with a cushion like that, would you be saving a ton?
That's where my question is. I'm not sure.
I mean, it's not easy to save as the leader, let's put it that way, compared to the others with the draft.
Yeah.
How difficult is that now without the clutch and coast, though, with the Porsche compared to now, when you don't have the draft to add into your save effect?
It is hard. I don't know if it's hard in any car, actually, as we see problems with the Pristana Nomad from what it looks like. John is now in contact with the world of sim racing.
They were in 20th position prior to that spin around, and was a small touch can confirm. Let's take a look from Williams. Yep. Little boop.
Yep.
And a little bye.
And just the tiniest of contacts with them. Wow.
While Reed Moore all over the back bumper nearly of Campbell. So how do you play this if you're Reed Moore? Do you try and make the path before the pit window? Or do you try and strategize it after that?
Make the path, risk 2 laps, if not just save fuel. That's what I would do. You're not gonna be. You really don't want to be risky whenever you are within the pit window. You know.
See if anybody's willing to take that risk. Rather, Beniti willing to take that. They do have some lap traffic ahead of the road. And J. Carlos Moreno in the 134 machine, who had an in-sim black flag, not from race control, but from one of the slowdowns appears. That's why they're back in front of the leader. Campbell really rolling and backing up these corners, notice, though, with this advantage, although he's pushing in the sections where they can try and leapfrog him. Moves with Snake this time, expecting just past the 1 hour mark for drivers to start thinking about that pit window. With how the strategies have played out, we're approaching 28 laps. Not including the pace laps, mind you, from that caution flag period. No peel-offs for the leaders. Here comes Reed Moore with the draft. Here comes the answer. Reed Moore wants to go for it. Levier watches. Reed Moore sends it up the right side into turn 1. Campbell holds on with the tight squeeze. Gonna make things work to hold on to the race lead.
Somehow they made it work, and Olivier even wanted, I think, to make an overtake on Rittenmuller, but had to lift off the gas to avoid hitting the back of the Mercedes from an Indy car. So it's a very interesting scrap between those three, even though they're losing time to Team Heusinkveld because Jan Sentowski was a tenth of a second faster than them on the previous lap.
And another penalty given out just now. RSR by butt kicker Boris Egno-Ovando from the top 10 overall, one of the Division 1 teams. One of the teams that has seen a struggle to score points this year. In the points, no more. As a result of a spin out with the 166 right through.
Yeah, I think we saw that on the replay.
That was the German Sim Racing Blue spin, Renzo.
Yeah, I think we saw that on the replay.
Anyhow, an ET looking to show some know-how with this. Still expecting drivers to push another 7 minutes based on the past trends. We'll see if the trends continue or if we see that moved up now. No slot downs. Here it comes, the chance. Campbell, though, may get some drafts soon from the lap car from Ingersoll Rand. Read more for now with the draft. And Campbell just lets them all have it. Campbell with a massive save lets them both go.
That is a smart move. And let me tell you why. It's just that both Olivier and Rittenmuller were getting too aggressive. So you're going to conserve the car at a certain point. You really want to try to have your best performance at the closing stages of the race. You become the hunter. You're not the hunted. You don't have to defend like crazy for not just one, not just 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 laps. You can basically ease off, save as much fuel as you can possibly can, work the pit window to the best of your full capabilities, maybe get an overcut, and then rip yourself off to the end of the race and not be concerned about fuel.
242 of Olympus Esports Proton not having the greatest of rounds. They have just been awarded a 2-minute stop and hold penalty. Let's go up the just had rejoined the track moments ago, mind you, about 10-15 minutes ago. They now have to go back to the pits for an extended period of time after an issue involving them in the 135, the second Ingersoll Rand car who is out of the race. So now that Campbell's in the midst of this draft section, how does this play out for Jan Setkowski? Because with that swap, with the change for the lead, that cost him a little bit of time the last lap. Setkowski was able to go full out. Guess who is now in the draft of Campbell? The 148.
Yeah. So, but still, I think it's not under considered draft range. It is close. It is really close. He's gonna be pulled in, but I don't think he's gonna be able to make any moves this time by. And again, I think Jan is gonna try to be smart about this, because he knows this is basically it's gonna be a pit stop race, and it's gonna be mad dash towards the accident, scramble themselves into the train of cars that is going to form up after this pit stop are actually taken. So you have to be smart moving forward on your positioning of the track and how aggressive you really want to be.
What's coming in this time by the way, Rusty Spatulas for scheduled stop, reaching 30 laps. It looks like that margin, maybe this time, if not next time at the most. About esports and German Sim Racing's Division 2 entry also within a range, keep in mind, so a few drivers staying tight here. In that 4-second margin, the next closest driver's 11 seconds back for the pit window.
Just wondering, we have the pit window open, but isn't it due to closing a little bit as well?
9 minutes.
Yeah, I'm saying they're cutting it kind of close, aren't they?
They've done this all season, though, Lorenzo.
Oh, fair. Okay. But then again, they haven't been, I think, on speedy tracks like this one.
Daytona.
Oh, okay. But Daytona can sim choke a few, but anyway, yeah, you're right.
No speed on throughs to the pit lane this time for the top three. Zedkowski just trying to be able to get a fishing rod out to hold on to Campbell's route. And what's going through Campbell's mind here? He's really spacking it down now, I've noticed. This time he's launching it to keep up.
Even though they might have taken down a notch right here, he's still a tenth of a second faster than the Dominic on the previous lap. As we see now, more cars coming in as ZBCWS and I think SCRD as well coming into the pit lane.
No mistake on the pit entry, overran the stall. YS Racing Esports, keep in mind, starting back in 2020. Team that had shown experience in the Endurance Series, 21-22. Now back up the front still. No blinkers, no takers yet amongst those who also joined them. Carl Esports, RD Simsport making a driver change after 2 penalties for that team. Jake Shirley, and a couple others. Looking like Olivier's keeping things at least honest here. The thing has been, when it comes to that car, Olivier started off the season nightmarish, remember, with some incidents. In fact, Daytona and Belle Isle and Suzuka, they had not scored points. Now, could be a chance to finally score points for the first time since last year's calendar year.
And for a team that has experienced drivers that drove like in top teams like Dominic, not being able to score back to back is somewhat concerning.
And here we go. Oh, how about nearly running into each other on the pit entry? Why don't we? A hard send there. Olivier wanted every second possible, and both of them, I believe, avoided the speeding penalty. Just. And it looks like it's the pit party time as expected. 51 minutes, the most they can make it on the clock. 32 laps total. Now it's the question how far they can get. The estimate is on the money, Lorenzo. 29 laps right now.
Yeah. And they don't have to be concerned about fuel moving forward. They can push the car to the very limit and not be concerned at all. This is basically a full fuel stop.
Only one team able to stretch it further than anybody else. World of Sim Racing's Marco Pereira. Just about everybody in. So far, no appearances of infractions of the pit delta times yet. So it's just a matter of a lot of these teams making sure they sit in the box for 1 minute. Looks like some of them already revving up to get ready to launch here. Olivier amongst them. Olivier taking some extra seconds to release. There goes some off the jacks. Race off the lane. Olivier trying to outrace them all. Campbell shuffle back. Maniti racing inside of Dominic Olivier. Olivier beats them out barely. They're still inside each other. Now they're clear.
Wow.
Well, that's something you can only do in sim racing. Be inside another car. And that gets the advantage for Olivier, the net race lead.
If that is a race to the exit of the pits, you have ever seen one. This looks like your traditional NASCAR races. You know, just trying to come out of the pit lane just in front of the other driver. It's just insane.
One team may be reviewed for an infraction of note. RSR by Butt Kicker, who had a penalty earlier, had a 47-second pit stop, so they may have to come back down and serve a penalty. We'll have to see and wait and see. But now, 43 seconds back at the lead now are these three. Pereira, the only driver yet to pit. And just pitting now, in fact, for the Division 3 advantage. So Olivier leads the top three grouping. They've ditched everyone else by 2 seconds.
Now I'm wondering how Olivier is going to get racy, because he sometimes he's very racy about it and stuff. And see Di Natale again with more issues for that Italian team.
Well, it's not had the funnest of days here in Italy.
No. Certainly a bad served pasta for them, but the rejoin though, that was bad. Was that in front of Viraco, by the way, from what it looked like?
So this now, the overall race lead. How do they play it now? We're on that mark for the fuel. Reed Moore showing the nose. Not taking the lunge this time though. Campbell letting them sort themselves out for a moment. And keep in mind, if they fight for too long, they can add more and more cars or result in more cars in the queue.
Yeah, we see a lurking Jan Sintowski in the back. Just trying to take a quick look if there's any more cars in the vicinity. Two, I think the closest one is Alessio Santonze, 1.3 back. So what was 3 can become 5, and for us it's great. For them is going to be nerve-wracking.
So Campbell has the advantage now of having the double toe. How do you think Sean plays this now?
I think Sean, knowing Sean, he's going to find an opening somehow, some way, maybe not in this lap, but after the other one. He's going to play smart. But as a counterpart, my problem is he makes that over. Let's just say he makes the overtake on Reed Mueller. He goes and tries to fight he tries to fight the Olivier. The question is, how much does he get into fighting? How much he goes and try to push up that fight towards Olivier? Because I know Olivier, for those who are not watching, he certainly he can have a tendency of, defend too much, and by doing that, he's going to approach the other cars. He's going to approach Penalties. He's going to approach Santonze. So it can become an easily 3-car scrap. As they go up, they're going to open up their basically out lap as 46, 45 remaining into this race, and still following one another, going into the first chicane. The gap between them is up to half a second separating P1 and P3. P4 is up to 2.5 seconds, but still a very doable margin for Team Heusinkveld. In the Div 2 class, German Racing with Florian Head now in the command of that car instead of Adam Buchwitz, with a really good gap to Deutsche Payment, and then on Div 3% of Nomad with a highly comfortable gap to Precision Racing Esports on McLaughlin's car. I'm Lorenzo Bonder. I'm with Justin Prince and Hugo Luis on the cameras as we are still doing coverage for round number 5. So as we are still seeing now, Reed Mueller got a really good run out of last mode 2. Is going to be side by side trying to fight Olivier covering the inside portion of the track. How's that going to be? If anybody's going to wave off who's going to be still side by side, they open up, but really good move on the outside. And Manini now is into the leadership of this race. Really good move. Is Dominic going to try to fight back? Doesn't look like it. And here comes Sean Campbell, still following Dominic, still nearly giving a bumper to bump draft over here as they're going to open to Parabolica, who goes in. Does Olivier goes for the overtake, doesn't go for it. So Manini is going to leave one more lap, but they go off.
Oh, and look at this. Keep in mind, though, Olivier just now received a 5-second rule violation, a drive-through penalty as the pit lane closes. Olivier from the battle for the lead, violating that rule because of the blend rule. That is a blending violation for the box.
Oof, I think that's the first time I've seen it this season so far.
Drivers have to be waiting to merge to the box for 5 seconds. He had been weaving back and forth, you've seen, going at the start of the pit lane from the right lane. That may be why.
Yeah, I saw that weave, but man, if that was enough, wow, I'm very surprised.
This could turn this into a 2-car battle. Olivier yet to serve it. So we'll see how it plays out here. Senkowski also within a range, within now 1.4 seconds of the draft. And them losing the 1 car might be able to help them. This helps Campbell even more because Reed Moore has fallen off.
I wonder if Reed Mueller got a slowdown or something like that, or a very minor slowdown, because that is actually going to maybe open up the window for Sintowski to come closer, try to catch the draft. And we've seen how Reed Mueller can work with drafts, right? Still, the good news for him is he's in the lead draft. He's still close to Sean Campbell. But let's just say he broke off the toe because he, let's just say, potentially had a slowdown and then allow young Santowski to come in. Probably they could work together. We see Windmuller be very good working together with other drivers to get close to other teams. So, yeah, it's a very interesting layout, and we're still having it in this race. As they're gonna open up one more lap, Justin, and Dominic's gonna, I think, fully exploit the time he has allotted before he serves that penalty he has on the box.
Javier has one more lap to serve it before he'll have to roll in or face disqualification from the iRacing sim in of itself. Campbell keeping the pressure up at least, or at least using him as a way to save. Meanwhile, V Racers continue to have a nightmarish round. Another penalty for Nuno Costa, another 35 seconds to go in the lane for a stop and hold.
Yikes.
Up in their day. 3. And a Nomad for reference lead by about 9 seconds or so in Division 3. German Sim Racing about 7. Some of the gaps have grown. Oh, some of the build-ups as to this run. So if you're Campbell here, again, play seems to be run away with the driver going to have to serve the penalty here, but what happens after that? How do you handle the potential run from Reed Muller with no drafting help in turn as a result?
Good question. I think he's going to basically take the same way he took prior to the pit stop, but I think he's going to be more aggressive towards his defending because he already went toe-to-toe with Reed Muller and came out on top. So it's just a matter of how racy this is going to get and how racy Reed Muller might actually get with 40 minutes to go, because you really don't want to be overly aggressive this early on in the race, as now Dominic goes into his pit stall to serve the penalty.
For penalties, Spencer Ritzma, Simon Natal, 268 and 124 for penalties respectively. Olivier coming in to serve it, as mentioned there. A few more penalties awarded. The reason for the 333's pit stop, its window was 30 seconds, so then 35 seconds in the box. That's why they have to come down. Natal, joint violation in that respect. So, Campbell now back in the lead. Here comes Maniti, looking to see if they can find a way to see their car be the one leading the Pied Piper line.
Yeah, and again they're taking off that sand trap, and we know if you take out that sand trap, even so slightly, you can get an off-track incident. So I wonder if any team, by overdriving that much, is actually within potential danger of falling into the bad books of the stewards for track limits infringements.
Very careful here. A little bit more curbing taken that time by Campbell. Reed Moore trying to keep him more smooth. Campbell, though, with a great launch out from Ascari.
I think that opening helped him quite a lot to actually get a good run around Ascari. So, well done.
We're now within that one car length again. The last couple times he's been within this range. He's sent it for the pass. Is there a decision to make a pass this time? A little bit too much time lost maybe from Parabolica, heading towards the end of the front straightaway. Coming out under 40 minutes on the clock, 22 laps to be able to work this out. Reed Moore, let's just back off and left there this time. So how long can you wait is the question before you make this move. How long until you reach that urgent period of saying, I've got to go if I want to win?
10 minutes left. Because I would say stay as late as possible behind someone and try to break away from third place. Third place is 2 seconds. One battle is enough for you to lose in a second. Imagine losing a second with 40 minutes to go.
I was about to say, what do you do for the next 30 minutes?
Try your best to work with the guy ahead of you. And be, my safety net for you to maybe battle within those final minutes would say 4 to 5 seconds. If you work with someone together, it's doable because Heusinkveld is by his own. You have 2 cars. You can do a little bit of bump drafting, and you can get within that that range easily. Then duke it off for the final 6-7 laps without concern yourself too much with 3rd place getting closer. So that's what I would do. I don't know if somebody would take a different strategy. I don't know if you would do something different.
Is slowly creeping in towards both of these drivers, staying now 2.3 seconds back in the lead, but still 2 seconds back at the track. That's also a factor to think about. By the way, where did Dominic Olivier cycle from that penalty? They've actually picked up about 2 seconds since the penalty. They are in 7th position on the racetrack. Renzo.
Yeah, I was taking a quick look over here. 17 seconds is the gap that separates Sean and Max to Dominic. So I'll be very honest. I expected more for Dominic, even if it is the 5-second pit stop that he had to do.
Well, he had to do the 20-second pit roll, so he didn't necessarily have to come to the stop. So that's at least a 10 seconds difference there.
Yeah. And he has to be very lucky due to the fact that because it is Monza, it falls under the what would be the Formula 1 regular standards of 80 kilometers into the box. So it's a very speedy pit lane. It's not one of the longest pit lanes as well. So you can easily cut off time without being concerned way too much or a relative gap towards the field.
Meanwhile, in the adventures of the Ford, Orbit Motorsport Venus, they are in 9th on the racetrack. That's good enough for a top 3 in Division 2 right now. Although, Winbo tried his hardest to be able to figure out what to do to push the Ford, to pass the Ford, to take the curbing while riding behind the Ford. What do they do here?
Don't overtake the Ford, simple.
Are you saying that because you like the Ford?
Yes.
Okay. I'm pretty sure Ethan Bass would like that answer. Would Emil Wimbo like that answer?
Oh, Emil and Ethan kind of knows my preference for the Ford.
Well, I think the preference is being overruled because car. Wimbo all over the back end of the Ford. More top end through the gears for Ethan Basto. Starting to pull away from the BMW.
And the big boy V8 is doing his job, man. But and one more meme is, if you look at the Ford in comparison to the BMW, it's funny to think like a. Do you remember the M8 GT memes? The big boy M8.
Yes.
It's, if you look towards the Ford and then look towards the M4, it looks like I can basically see the M8 memes happen towards the M4. The M4 being the M8 in this instance.
Thing is, the Ford, as mentioned, is starting to build the buffer. They were only about half a tenth, 3/4 of a tenth slower last time. There's a look inside the engine compartment for the Ford. The older car's on the platform. You can see just how much some of the dirt is starting to get kicked up, though, and they are really making that back end of that Ford seen every single lane on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a brave move. Winbo sends it. And Bass says, you know what? Fine. Wasn't expecting Ascari to be one where you'll dive it in for the send today. Renzo?
I'll be very honest. Whenever Emil actually did that move, I expected him to make the overtake, but it didn't go. I didn't expect Ethan to go off into the far portion of the Ascari entry and basically scrap. Basically, I'm not going to say scrap, but offshoot his entry that badly into Ascari.
car in his class is 10 seconds back. Keep in mind though, either way, or an owner of a Ford, your name is Ethan Bass, you're happy today.
Absolutely. If I remember correctly, I think of all active cars within the most popular series, if I remember, I think the Ford is the oldest car of the bunch. And it's older than the McLaren MP4-12C, if I remember correctly.
A little bit of sand kick up there once again for Winbo. I will say for Winbo, this is a recovery technically for him himself too, from some of the penalties, as well as some of the spins earlier.
And nearly had a half spin, the transition for the first and the second Lesmos.
Out of the second Lesmos, wow. A lot of slip and slide from some of these drivers. We talked a bit about the tire fall possibilities. Some teams are seeing fall off of 1.1 seconds, I've just noticed, amongst this run so far, first 10 laps.
Yeah, I think it might be to the fact that it might be a little bit difficult to drive the car, but also, like I said, I don't think it's a high burning track in terms of tires. I know it's for fuel. It's arguably the track that has the most burn. Maybe compared to Road America, it might be the second, one of the two tracks that he had the highest burn in terms of fuel. But for tires, I know your left-hand side, like I said before, is gonna burn because it only has right-hand turns basically. So it's down to the driver, I think. Minimize the tire wear.
At the front, still 0.3 seconds the difference between the top two. Team points about slowly reeling themselves in. However, lap traffic is coming up for the Division 1 leaders to deal with. Because Dintal's up the road, Ackles is up the road, Roman Ortiz for Sprint 2 is up the road for the Ingersoll Rand cars. So now it gets intriguing once they reach them. How do they play? Do they just yield to the blue flag simply? Or do we see what's popped up in some where they may try for a bit in the midst of battles for positions? Because some of the battles up the road are for position.
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting aspect we need to cover in a little bit. One other thing is that Jansen Toski's keeping up with them, so the likelihood of you getting those 5 seconds that I said of a safety net for you to worry maybe towards the final minutes are slowly waning away. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Max, I would not say now, but I would say maybe in the next 5 to 6 minutes to get more aggressive even now.
Oh, a little look there. Near contact between Campbell with Reedmore nearly hitting the back bumper. Kowski lost a lot of time either way through that same section, so they're starting to fall back a touch for now. Reedmore starting to show a little bit of the nose, it looks like. Differences on those lines. Mercedes AMG very smooth today. Porsche, though, also amongst those front contending cars all race, outside the BMWs, of course.
Yeah, but like you said before, that wasn't a car that was like overpowering the others. That was very well distributed between the top 10. So it all came. I think it would come down to race pace to see if there was a car that was superior, maybe on tires or any other technicalities surrounding its race, and we're seeing none of it.
So again, we stayed around this mark for much of the race here. 29 laps to go. More, you see the difference on the braking points. Campbell again seems to have gone into conservation mode per se.
Maybe. I think saving tires would be essential, but But again, I think, like you said, all these battles happening up ahead, I see Quasar, Ingersoll Rand might be for position as well. So that might provoke some very interesting moves from the leaders moving forward.
See how close some of the bumping and banging is there. A little blinky from V Racers. That's because Samadin Natal slid in front of the bumper there in 1 and 2. That is within 10 car lengths of your overall race leaders now. That is the Hornet's Nest they're about to enter. So, how do you play this if you're the lap cars? Where do you let them go? Because if they catch in the wrong spot, someone's losing a spot here.
Yeah, I think you probably want to lift off the gas, maybe at one of the straights to minimize the time loss, and then you can use the draft as a benefit for you. So I think this is what Quasar might actually do first.
That's exactly what they're doing. So Quasar's already pulled over and yielding for the top 2. So now it's 3 cars in the train. So that takes care of the first blue flag. V Racers up next, then you have Absolute, then Ingersoll Rand. No major difference in terms of the interval as a result of some of the traffic, by the way. This may help Sinkowski more than anything with some of the draft off of in this train. Campbell in turn also being fed a double tilt from that lap traffic. It's just that line difference you need to have down the front straightaway today just to be able to match up draft to draft with some of the cars. I'll keep it close to Renzo. Thoughts?
I'm liking the job that both they're doing. You know, now because the fact that these 3 up in the front, they're not being very racy towards one another, like we probably saw at the frame a few, maybe 1-2 laps back, trying to go side by side into Parabolica. I think they're gonna get more easiness of going through the traffic without too much of a drama. And now, since the first car is the V Racers, is where those V Racers open up for them to go by. I think he's going to do right after the Lasmos, where, like I said before, you lose the least amount of time.
Seeing that now, let's see if V Racers yields immediate, or if they elect to try and push a little bit before they reach the run up to Parabolica.
Interesting.
Oh, it looks like they're not going to full yield. 1 car off into the grass. Samadin Natal with an off-track, and V Racers punts them. Here comes Campbell. Reedmore trying to go. Reedmore nearly spins it, trying to make the pass for the lead. ET with the better run with the checkup for Campbell. Side by side through Parabolica. Coming at 25 minutes to go. Maniti has the door open up for the move. Oh, the runoff area being used by Maniti. It doesn't work. Campbell holds on for now. The battle's on. And here comes Jan Sinkowski as a result.
And if you're V Racers, you have to let him go. You know, why are you trying to follow the draft? There you go. Lift off. You're not battling for position, so now you leave a 3-car scrap.
Reedmore looking to squeeze him off. He squeezes the fender. Campbell nearly gets back into him. Reedmore up to the lead. Here comes Heusinkveld up to the back bumper of Campbell.
And I think I saw V Racers spun around as well at the finish chicane.
V Racers losing a ton of ground there as a result. Here comes Campbell with a peak. Car length back. Sinkowski trying to force them off the preferred mark. Not able to peel them off the racing line. And if that's not a prime position of lap traffic, give it lap traffic, take it away. What can it be? V Racers you've seen there with the replay on the spin. V Racers a part of that initial checkup that's opened up the door from an ET to lead for the first time in a while.
Yeah, insane. And now Sinkowski, now that he's joined the fray, he knows he's seeing the golden pot right in front of him. I wouldn't be surprised if that that Porsche is going to be racy coming forward into the next few minutes if he actually finds an opening. Question is, never mind. It's not a question. I already got my answer. 4 seconds back is Alessio on that Sabelt car we just saw coming off the frame into the exit of Ascari. So they can go toe-to-toe without losing too much time to that Sabelt car.
We've had an incident point infraction for 30 off tracks. Simon De Natal, the first of those to cross that mark today. Drive-through penalty. That was after the stack-up we just seen that opened up the switch. Here comes Jan Sinkowski, looking to see if he can make a switch. No, not close enough for any of them to make a pass this time. With one lap car to pass before getting some clean track. These drivers coming around now, expecting around 12 estimated laps to go next time by.
And to remind, they still have another car to overtake right in front of them. I think that's the Ingersoll Rand AMG that is right in front of them. They still have to overlap, so that could still create some confusion in front of them as we move forward into the next few corners. But still a healthy gap that you have to cut down towards that AMG of the Spanish team.
I will say this though. That respective car is the last car running on track after being out for 11 laps and 22 minutes of repairs total. Different than some of the battling we've seen just moments prior. Campbell looking to keep the pressure up. And knowing how it went just to open up the door from Maniti, how does Campbell now play this? Because Maniti waited for the optimistic time, it seemed. How does Campbell now play this out? Because he might not get the same opportunity.
Sure, but I think he's thinking about the long haul as well. He's thinking about championship. He knows top 3 secures him the championship, so you don't have to push like mad, even though Team Heusinkveld is the team that is behind you. The deficit they would cut, it would be minimal. So,
you know what, the team who's in second though, who might be able to at least prevent the mathematical clinch fully?
Yeah, Team Heusinkveld.
Exactly.
Right,
it's still going to be difficult to do it. They need not only that for Campbell to have the bad luck. Where Campbell's running, even with Heusinkveld up towards the front, believe the clinch is on for Campbell for Division 1.
Yeah, and it would be a clinch by minimal points, so even though it's still close to call between one another, you know, Justin. So it's still a long shot for Team Heusinkveld to win the championship. I think they need a DNF from...
Actually, they need them to fall out of the top 7 is the actual answer. Because anything below the top 7 is below 50 points. Simon De Natal, who already has a black flag, another spin for the 124.
It's simply not going the Italians' way on their home turf.
Credit to Santosi on his home racetrack, though. He's still amongst the top 5. He is the only Italian region driver left in the cars.
I think Sabelt nowadays turned themselves to be more of an Italian team than international, since they lost some drivers in the process.
I mean, you know where the brand is from.
No, I know. I think he's Italian, if I remember correctly. But they had like Polish drivers and things like that that used to drive for their championships. Like I think back in Neo and other championships of the nature, but they lost throughout the year. So that's why he's now more a true traditional Italian team than more international brand. That's what I meant to say.
Following along with Sinkowski, everybody waiting to see how the chess pieces start to plot. They've been able to get around the lap traffic easily, no major holdouts. Campbell still keeping that green and black machine of Maniti within arm's reach and within fingertip reach when they want to press that go button. Division 2 for reference, still significant 8 seconds the advantage for Florian Owen now in that advantage for German Sim Racing Red. Division 3's Pastana Nomad with Aiden Refe up by now 6 seconds over Nick McLaughlin. still matching tick for tack, it seems, these drivers. Back one of the faster drivers on the track outside of them currently is Olivier, who is back in 7th still, 16 seconds back what could have been.
Now I'm just taking a quick look. I think I was gonna say he's slowly reaching Florian Head in the German Racing red car. Was a faster by a full second last lap, so nearly a full second, but still a top 6 is doable for the 111 Precision Racing team. Of course, not top 3, but still is a considered result they have to take.
Here comes Campbell. Campbell with the better one for now. Is he going to wait? Yes. Sedkowski. Is he going to wait? He didn't want to wait for a second. Starting to get a little antsy as we're under 10 laps to go. Estimated on the time, 17 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock.
Time to get racy, boys.
They lost a lot of time, though, to Moore with a little of that blocking motion for Delta. The Delta Sport car staying up at the point for second, rather. Keep in mind, Delta Sport coming a long way as the organization, with years worth of experience from Brian Vorse originally from late 2020. We're jumping through the IVRA, winning a championship back in around the 2021 seasons. Keep in mind, this is a team with a lot of focus too these days, Delta Sport will say, on its STEM programs, amongst those investing a lot in the real world in terms of motorsport.
Yeah, having drivers from all kinds of categories. I think they have Alessandro Di Tullio, which is, if I remember correctly, driving the karting, U.S. karting championships. If I remember correctly. So they have drivers that can go toe to toe with people.
Sedkowski looking to go toe-to-toe with the back bumper of Campbell. Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. It's time for the bike. About to go again for second. Campbell inside. Sedkowski to the outside on 1 and 2. Nearly into the bumper for both of them. Sedkowski having to back it up.
I honestly thought they were going to make contact in the transition of the second leg of the chicane. Broke off by 0.8 of a second. That is getting to dangerous numbers for Delta Sport to get closer, maybe contend for the lead of this race. Sedkowski getting more and more aggressive as the corners go by.
Focus going to be huge now with 8, 9 tenths now the difference between first and second. And the significance of that, too, if Sedkowski doesn't stay patient now, they might both lose Moore for the final 8 laps.
Yeah, they can't afford to do that. If the gap goes up to 1.2, 1.3, it starts to get really risky for them to get into the dreams of battling P1.
Sedkowski having to check up a little bit, lost some ground. Campbell a little bit quicker coming out of Ascari. Already that difference with some of the traffic. They have clean space for the rest of this race outside of Love 46, who is about 50 car lengths up the track at least. Under 15 minutes on the clock. Campbell now lines it up. Watch Sedkowski. Does he try and bump or try and push? Doesn't look like there's an urgency for the send. It looks like he's playing the patience game for the long term for the goal. Now he looks to try and break that for the short term. Campbell pushes him off to be able to shove him away.
And importantly, no time lost between them.
Sedkowski tried it at least. But now, It might take a few laps for this to fully close up based on the tempo differences that we've seen here. They may get 2-3 shots at Reedmore at the most right now, Lorenzo, based on how it's going.
Yeah, and I think you're being kind of like maybe optimist with 3 shots. I would say 2 is more realistic the way the Santowski's trying to look for the overtake. It comes down to how aggressive does Sean get closer to that Manini car. He has the draft, but the thing is, he's being hunted aggressively by Jan Santowski through the corners, and if he falters one corner, it's enough for Jan to try to close in and put the car side by side. And if that thing is side by side, let's just say through a Lesmo, race over between both of them, because that gap goes off in a blink of an eye, and you cannot catch back that Manini car in front.
Half a second the difference. 7 estimated laps to go, under 13 minutes now on the clock. Campbell looking to win once more and keep what has been an improbable streak of 4 consecutive victories in Division 1 going, to try and clinch the championship fully here today. Santowski again, peek to the outside. No. This time they plateau, if anything, pick up a temp.
Interesting lines from Sean right there. We can see from the bonnet of Santowski's car, you know, defending a middle line, trying to block both lanes coming in, but still gives you allowance to merge into the outer lane and try to take an optimal line through the first chicane. So that was really interesting to see. You are able to defend. Not only you're able to defend, but you're able to minimize the time loss, or even cut back some time, depending on how Manini does the corner. And in that instance, you just saw really good corners from them.
Down to 4/10 now with that result of the corners. That's how close the margins are. These are your 3 quickest drivers on the track outside of Dominique Olivier, who is still back in 6th. A little bit more curbing again from Campbell. It's worked out well for some good launch out of the corner several times today. Still needing to close up 4/10 to be able to get alongside. 11 minutes to go in the race. Three-tenths now, that respective gap. David Ward, the 124, may have crossed that respective threshold of incident points and respective penalty points for Team Pelony. The suspension, second last round, for a 13 penalty points picked up as a result of today. 10 minutes to go on the clock coming up.
And remember when I said that probably they would get more racy at the final 10 minutes? Kind of like what I expected it to be. I think Sean is doing a really good job of, you know, not overdriving the car way too much. He's cutting back the difference to Manini. Still, like I said before, you get 2 shots, maybe 3 if you don't defend too much one of them, and the time loss isn't too great depending on where they are fighting for it. But I expect once they open up the next lap, Sean might actually try to make the move on turn 1 of the first chicane. And if so, how aggressive does he try to fight back towards the second chicane for the American driver?
See how deep he's setting in the corners, still falling on from Santowski. He's in the popcorn seat for this. How does Santowski play into all this is the question. Does he watch the 2 side by side, or does he force the issue himself?
He's forced tenths back from Sean. He cannot force.
Well, he just leaped in and closed that in half, though, this time. Campbell trying to leap and gain all the time back at once. Now it's back to 2/10, 5 laps to go. Still no major lunges for either of them. Santowski within a car length. Campbell takes the defensive line as he's done several times. Senkowski looks for the stamp to be sent. Can he make it stay in the mailbox? Yes, he does. Campbell loses ground, and is that the right call here? Oh, the time lost.
Still doable, still doable. You might get one shot, maybe with 1 or 2 to go right here if they still don't get feisty between one another.
Oh, they're getting feisty with one another. There's the squeeze off. Senkowski, little run with Campbell. Campbell has now lost the touch to Maniti.
Still a good battle between them. I see no problem going door to door into the corner.
Is there going to be enough time for Campbell to get there now? 1 second to close in less than 8 minutes. That's about 4 laps on the clock.
If you close 0.2 of a second per lap, it is, but it's 1.2 to 1.1, and it's gonna maybe roller coaster that gap, so maybe not. So it will come down to the wire, I think.
It also may come down to the wire in some battles such as this one. Division 2, looking back 22nd overall for now. This is with Jason Dilworth. These drivers quietly have been running amongst the top 10 or so around that mark in the division today. So, Thomas Fisher looking to score some significant points for satellite Jason Dilworth, who's had to come down for at least 1 penalty today and has been bounced around at least 1 or 2 times, including qualifying. Looking to close up and finish up here.
He's trying to push that a satellite car, but Dilworth doing a really good job retaining the gap to the BMW.
While we've talked about the ascension of Dominique Olivier's pace, well, he just lost about a second there, but he wants to go. This is for a spot in Division 1. German Sim Racing's 127 to the inside. ESR car by ACV holds on. Olivier forced to reset, trying to get the power down the outside instead of Lesmos.
I'm not liking this one bit.
Didn't work. Now having to regroup. The air car originally that they had been working around to get past the Division 2 car already let by their teammate, mind you. Olivier showing the nose. No send this time from Ascari. We've only seen one major lunge from that section today. It's about way up the road. The home race has a sponsor. Now Olivier looking to try and find a way around the weave. Down to the left side. Justin Clausen's behind the wheel for GSR. Holds on to the right side. Back through Parabolica. 3 laps estimated to go. 5 minutes on the clock. Olivier looking to try and get himself in the top 5. Olivier's got the run. Lawson's tucks in. Olivier back up to 5th.
Yeah, I think that was a really good move from Olivier. I was afraid that he was going to get really aggressive through the corners, but didn't get to. So that's what I was very, not surprised, but relieved to see that we didn't end up in tears for both cars. But shows the pace of Olivier. I don't know if I think it's the setup, in my opinion. I think he's might be running less wing than the BMW is running. But then again, this is a track where you run minimal wing basically. So just wondering how many tweaks on the car probably have been done by Olivier on this Precision Racing League car, esports car, to be over dominant over the other cars.
You know, those aero balance calculators utilized in the settings very likely utilize a ton to make sure you get every single piece of that you can.
And even if you put stuff on the calculator, it's still not enough for you to say, oh, this is a fast. All right, you're probably gonna know this is a fast car, but if you don't know, this is fast but also stable. It goes around the corners, so you have to do tweaks maybe on the springs, on the anti-roll bar. So that's part of what I'm wondering. What kind of work has he done to make that car very nimble throughout the corners and still be very fast in it?
Sean Campbell is playing defense. They are not closing. In fact, they are losing a ton now to Max Riedmuller. That time losing a 10th through 1 and 2. Riedmuller's race to lose now. Lap and a half expected to go here. We'll see what is shown from Barney the flag bib when they come down the front. No matter how you slice it though, 4 straight victories for Campbell entering today. Campbell has been on a tear on the platform as of late. The past year has been a dream for him. Every time he touches a wheel, he runs away and pulls away from his competitors. Today, could be another notch to that trophy case and added to that cabinet in what has been a dominant past couple years for Campbell.
Yeah, I just wonder if he gets another title, does he add one more chair to his office? Because we know that Sean Campbell likes his chairs.
That's a good question. Still wanting to play defense on Team Heusinkveld, though, knowing they're in the midst of the championship fight. However, this position would not change the significance of the locked up points, because coming into today, remember, it was 149 points. Team Heusinkveld would need Campbell to drop outside the top 7 for the fight to continue. Final lap is confirmed. Barney the flagman has confirmed it. Final lap around with 1:36 on the clock. There goes Heusinkveld outside. Campbell, one more defensive move, holds on. Does he go too deep though? Heusinkveld on the cross, slips it.
Yeah, Sean completely went over the limits of the track. He could have gone into the Retifilio chicane. That's why made Heusinkveld lift off a little bit. Second chicane coming up.
Heusinkveld deep lunge, they touch. Heusinkveld off to the runoff. Heusinkveld forced to cut the corner. And that may be it for that battle. How will this play out post? Campbell is trying to let the time penalty bleed to be able to keep the spot from that.
No, I think Sean knew that he was probably going to lose the position coming into the corner, and he knows he was at fault causing the contact, and does let the Team Heusinkveld team go by. That's good sportsmanship. We got to give him that.
And any post-race penalty for that situation might have put him out the mathematical lock. Let's take a quick look at the replay as they get ready for the checker. Watch the right side. But with that, Maniti Racing coming out of the final corner comes back, takes the lead with 25 minutes to go to win it in Italy, while Delta Sports' Sean Campbell, unofficially with a 3rd place run today, may have clinched himself a championship in IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld competition. Behind them, a huge race in Division 2 for German Sim Racing Red. They pick up about a 1-race buffer with a winning class in Italy. All this as well, the second half of the race for Stana Nomad has been a picture-perfect one. Nomad Sim Racing car has been lightning fast from the onset. One of the quickest cars on the track, a top 15 overall, but a huge buffer built up for Division 3 points. How about the victory for Nomad? They pick up Division 3 from Monza. But That the last of the battles started to come across the stripe. Low and Dick in the background in a drag race holding off Satellite. And all this as well, the rest of the competitors look to breathe a sigh of relief in some cases. Others look to bring out the champagne in the case of the front runners. What a race, to say the very least, for Renzo today.
Yeah, really good race. I enjoyed covering it for the strategies, all the battles throughout the track. Of course, we had a yellow flag that helped the teams to kind of like be conservative about the field, know they were more safe, and seeing this battle toe-to-toe to the finish for the top 3 spots, for the podium spots, rather, between Sean Campbell and Max Reed-Mueller was very enticing to take a look at, of course. We wish it could have been more racy between them, but the contact on the Curva, after Curva Grande into the second chicane kind of like undid everything for us. But still, congratulations to all the teams that made it out alive into the top 3s, to the class winners, and then we got a 1-week break and we are back at it again.
Last of the drivers crossing the stripe. Unofficially, this is how things play out today. Reed Moore over Sienkowski and Campbell. The gap at the end, about 4 or 5 seconds. Remember, Campbell electing to allow Sienkowski to take the time penalty and hold on to second. In his words, he wasn't going to take second like that. Then Tosi Olivier the top 5, and Clausen's in 6. Good showing for Division 2. 4 of the top 10 overall in the Division 2 side, with Florian Hohen with Winbo recovering to 8th overall, second in class. Then it's Ethan Bass and Hull Tykes the top 10 overall. Behind them on the running order, GSC Racing by ACI gets up to 11th, followed by German Sim Racing Blue in 12th. Then majority of the others in this grouping, Division 3 or 2. The 201 finishes 13th for WS Racing Esports. Geeks Energy Sim Racing 14th. Happy birthday to Pasana Nomads driver in the end. Andrew Feed brings it to the victory in the class for Nick McLaughlin, who finished 17th overall. Behind them, well, behind Pastana, was Eclipse, with Lowendick beating a drag race to the line by 11 1,000ths of a second over Satellite. What a sim racing team, finishing in the top 20 overall. Dilworth, along with Hardage, along with Rays and Zilikas in the top 24. Top Dave Rusty Spatulas in terms of overall positioning. And then was Chatterton and Mello, with Smits and Hobson. One driver finished a lap down, that was Ingersoll Rand, the Racers top 30. But the drivers with some tough runs. Blazar Sim Racing in 34th spot. Both the Olympus cars at the back end, 32nd, 33rd. Ingersoll Rand's other car, 34th. What's the DNFs today? Absolute Motorsport, RSR by Butt Kicker, iLiveries, D Delta V, JTR Esports, and OTK by Butt Kicker. Then it's Make Performance, Junior White, and P1 Esport Orange, the top 2. That's all top to bottom at the running order unofficially today. Reed Moore also picking up the fastest lap in the race today. On the way to victory, leading 17 of the completed total laps today. But that brings us in post-race coverage of the celebration already underway for some. Max Reed Moore from an ET Racing picking up the victory today. Moore in turn now joins us here on RaceSpotTV. Max Reed Moore, talk us through that battle where it looked like the patience game at first was on. And then there was that run through Ascari with the traffic.
It was a really hard race out there with the draft. It was a nice battle against Campbell, and was full of respect. But it was a tough one, and also through the traffic, it's never easy to get through, and it was hard.
It sounds through the voice, it seemed a bit on the physical demanding side today. How difficult was it to situate yourself at the race, knowing too, with the fuel differences, how that play out, but also with the fact it was Monza?
In the first stint, before the coaching came out, we all saved fuel a lot. because without that we don't come with one stop there. But yeah, when the caution runs out, was full send after that. But how I said, it was not easy against Porsche. To win that race. They were very fast today, and it was a tough one.
So, a couple more races to go, and what's the approach now going to be like for the closing stages of the season, knowing how things have broken down throughout this campaign, but also knowing Road America is up next?
Yeah, I think Road America should suit Mercedes also very well. Let's see what comes out there. I will give everything there. Let's see what there comes out.
Well, congratulations on the run today, Max. Well deserved in the end today.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks.
That's Max Reedmore coming away with the overall and Division 1 victory, but unofficially a championship clinch going the way of Sean Campbell for Delta Sport. Sean, 4 straight victories coming into the round, and in turn this run today, mathematically, depending on post-race review, sees you locked up for the title potentially here today. How are you feeling after today's race?
I don't know, it was a good race. It's a shame about what I did at the end. That was entirely my fault, and I did it twice, which is a shame. I'm glad I waited on him, though. I thought it might have been netcode, but I wasn't going to risk that. But it was a good race. It's kind of a shame about the safety car, because the fuel-saving strats were really fun, getting to figure that out without like the insane draft that we had last season. We made it pretty diverse grid up front, but once we started running, the Mercs took off in a straight line. Not to say that it's OP, because it's not. I just wasn't quick enough to keep up with Max today. Or Yan started pushing like crazy at the end, and I had to defend for a while, but could not hold him back.
So with how this season has played out, it's been domination straight. It was domination station for about 3-4 months there. Kind of talk us through that, first of all, with that stretch, and knowing how well competitively quick you were at every single circuit this season to put up one of the more dominating championship campaigns in IVRA history.
I think this is potentially the most time I've done for a series ever. I think I did like 30 hours for Imola just to test it and see, and I figured something out with the car, because for whatever reason I just got average quicker after that week, even if I didn't put like that much time into the other tracks that I drove the car at. But it was good for me. And it just became a consistency thing, right? Or you'd practice enough and you just do what you have to do in order to win, right? And now I'm chillaxing, I guess. I don't know. I don't have to win in order to win, like overall, so I'm gonna be more careful now.
I do want to mention the chart, and I think you know what I'm talking about, the Dunning-Kruger effect. The chart that you showcased earlier today, and then Ted Lowendick ran off and made the Monza theory. Well, to put it politely, the way you handled it showed you beat his theory today. In fact, Lowendick actually exceeded his theory.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, for a long time, I was in the Valley of Despair, not for this race in particular, but just like with cars in general, where there's people like, you know, a little bit more than a lot of people, and then you're like 3 seconds slower than the top guys, and you're wondering how on earth they're so much faster. I think I've passed the Valley of Despair, but not at the very end yet. Hopefully one day, but I think we're getting there, hopefully.
If this is just in the Valley of Despair, which mind you is below the midpoint of the competence part of that chart, we may see you become even stronger than that. What we've seen this season. Congratulations on the run today. Congratulations on the unofficial title lock today.
Thank you.
That's Sean Campbell for Delta Sport, coming away with the 3rd overall on the racetrack today. And a lot of drivers eager to talk with us during this post-race coverage here today. So a lot of choice to head towards. Where do we go, shall we? That's a good question. Lorenzo, how about we catch up with the driver in the middle of that sandwich of the fight? While they are here, it's Jan Sandkowski. It's Team Heusinkveld. They put up a strong fight in the championship. He's with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jan, talk us through this battle at the very end. You came out right at the final minutes, came out with a very good duel with Sean, and finished the second place of B. It got a little scary at the end. Talk us through it.
Yeah, was a really tough fight in the end, but I really enjoyed it. Congrats to Sean though on the championship, I think, that he secured it. So yeah, I didn't want to get in the way of that for him anyway, so didn't throw too much at it at the beginning. But in the end, I really wanted to pass him, because yeah, I had the feeling that I was today quick enough to get the race win, but yeah, there was no coming by when he had the draft of the AMG. So yeah, I really tried at the end to get him out of the draft, and yeah, then I had to fight it again really hard, and yeah, fair battle in the end. Even a little touch, but yeah, never mind it.
Yeah, that touch could have been very scary for both of you. But now that you probably believe that this championship is secure, what is the goal moving forward with Team Heusinkveld? Because if all P2 is secured, I believe so, with the final 2 rounds, you still have Road American ambassadors to be worried about. But what is the goal for the team moving forward with these final 2 races? Try to finish that out on top, maybe with a win?
Yeah, sure. Always trying to get the best result possible, which of course is the win. But yeah, in the end for me, it was all about basically recovering after having a bit of a break of sim racing the last 2 or 3 years, just doing it occasionally. And so I'm happy that I improved race by race. And yeah, somehow I did manage to have the best race today. On the track or race that I think had the least preparation for yesterday, about an hour. But yeah, I felt really good in the car. In Suzuka, it was basically the opposite. I put in a lot of hours, didn't feel comfortable, and somehow was struggling a lot with understeer. And today the car just worked perfectly fine. I could save tires and fuel when I needed to, so I was able to attack at the end. So I don't know why. I'll have to look at that now, and hopefully that hopefully I can transform that into a win in this season. But I think there are a few competitors that do try the same, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the last 2 races.
As do I, Jan. Well, that being said, I think you're a little bit tired from what it looks like from all that battling. We'll let you rest, and we'll see you next time in Road America in about 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. See you.
Jan Sandkowski coming away with 2nd overall in the race here today. Amongst the top runners today in Division 3 was Ryan Scott Hamilton. His driver celebrating a birthday today. Ryan Scott Hamilton celebrating a victory after strong running in that 356. Huge day for you in the championship, first of all, gaining some distance for Pacenta Nomad. Talk us through your day.
Yeah, it's been a really fantastic day for us. After the really disappointing no score at Suzuka, we really wanted to put the effort back in between me and Aiden, so we really worked hard behind the scenes trying to make sure that we were well prepared for this one. And despite me almost doing my best to try and ruin it with a spin early on, I was able to save the fuel, go back through the field as quickly as I could, and then the safety car came out, which basically helped us without not having to worry about fuel anymore. And then it was all about just putting in the laps, handing over to Aiden, and Aiden on his birthday really came through in the end. He's really stepped up to the plate and brought the car home for a really good win for us.
Of course, the Mercedes AMG, the car you guys ran with today, that car, once one of the flurry of others that were running towards the front. How would you describe setting up the car for this track?
Well, funnily enough, we mainly like share a bit of information, especially between Jason Dilworth and the 256. He does quite a lot of the work as well for setup. And funnily enough, me and Jason, we kind of have like similar sort of driving styles, similar sort of like the way we like to set up a car. So it's not really much of a copy and paste, because I found that a setup that he later ran for the race was completely too on the nose for me. So I went back to a previous version, and me and Aiden sort of like ran that multiple times until we got it down to a T that we really liked it in what we predicted to be the right conditions, and it came through in the end for us. So yeah, a top job all round, and a congratulations to the other winners as well.
With that, still a lot of work to do. Road America, your opinions on the National Park of Speed up next, back to back with the Temple of Speed.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough ask, but I think the Mercedes-Benz has got the grunt to really to keep up with everyone. I mean, the 356 field is really competitive. There's a lot of different strategy involved. You know, there's some people who are just running the car themselves, and there's some people who are, you know, like us, which are running a higher class and then a lower class, and it's really interesting to see how it's going to play out in those races, especially with the strategy involved as well. I mean, the fuel was the biggest worry today. I don't think it's going to be that much of a worry in the other races, but we'll have to keep an eye on it, do our scouting for it, and when the next race comes around, we'll be thoroughly prepared and hoping to get some more valuable points, because like I say, it was a disaster at Suzuka. We dropped a 70-point lead, and we're having to work through it again. We really didn't need all the things that happened in Suzuka, so to come away with this win and look into the future, we're really positive, and we're going to really fight for it in the next two races.
Well, congrats on the victory in class today, Ryan. We'll see how things go at Road America.
Thank you very much. Excellent stream, guys. Thank you.
Again, that's Ryan Scott Hamilton from Santa Nomad coming away with the Division 3 victory. I'd like to thank him as well as our top 3 from Division 1 for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on RaceSpotTV. Renzo, your quick final thoughts after this one, and what was an intriguing one to say the very least here from Italy. But in the end, Manitti with the win, the unofficial clinch for Delta.
Yeah, really good battles throughout the entirety of the track. The Fury strategy, of course, maybe hampered by the safety car, but nevertheless, brought us a really good race, closer than probably could have been. But the clinch from Delta Sport was really good to watch, and the fight back from Santa Nomad in Division 3. Good to know that we still have 2 more rounds to see who's going to come out on top, maybe on Division 2 and 3.
Once again, the next time out for these drivers is Road America, where these drivers look to see how they can play things out, that being in just 2 weeks' time. Yes, it's April the 16th. Starts at 14:40 UTC. That is about 10:40 p.m. Eastern Time here on RaceSpotTV. On that note, though, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for today's action of the IVRA GT Sprint Series, powered by Heusinkveld. For our producer, Hugo Louise, for Renzo Bonder, I'm Justin Prince. Saying so long, enjoy the rest of your day or evening. You've been watching the IVRA GT Sprint Series powered by Heusinkveld. Congratulations to Manitti Racing, the overall race winners today here at Monza.